On a night of heavy rain and strong winds, the little boy Somun was walking on the road with his parents. At this time, the results of the mayoral election were broadcast on the radio. Candidate Shin Myung-hui was elected mayor of the city. Somun's parents were both criminal police officer. They were busy with work all year round. Therefore, they had no time to take care of Somun. Usually, his grandparents took him out to play. His parents wanted to make it up to Somun, so they promised to go out with him next time. A family of 3 were laughing and talking happily. At the same time, a seriously injured criminal police officer appeared on the rooftop. In despair, the police officer called Somun's father to warn him to be careful. In the end, the police officer was surrounded and beaten by many men in black. As a result, he fell from the roof and died on the spot. Meanwhile, Somun and his parents were also hit by a truck. The car rolled many times on the road. Before Somun fell into a coma, he saw a strange man getting off a truck and slowly walking towards him. In the end, only Somun survived the accident. Time has passed in a flash. 7 years have passed. Somun now lives with his grandparents. Despite his unfortunate childhood, Somun still grew up successfully like any other child, with the love of his grandparents. Unfortunately, the traffic accident 7 years ago left Somun unable to walk normally. Although his body is disabled, it does not affect Somun's rich spiritual world. He dreams of becoming a comic book artist. The main character Superman in comics seems to represent his resilient soul. Today is Somun's birthday. 2 friends plan to take him to a sister's very famous noodle shop nearby to eat noodles. On the way, they met a girl who was handing out flyers looking for missing people. She had been searching for a year, but there were no clues. Then, they went to sister's noodle shop. There were a lot of people lining up outside the noodle shop. Business was very good. There were rumors that Tayson Construction Company wanted to build a building here, but the noodle shop owner refused to sell the shop. Although this noodle shop did not advertise and had poor service, it became a famous shop on the internet thanks to its excellent taste. The noodle shop's employees were Mo Tak. He could break a kitchen knife with one hand. The second person was Mayo. She looked like an ordinary person, but had her own special talent. And Hana, who could see and sense spirits. Suddenly, she discovered the whereabouts of the devil. The 3 noodle shop employees immediately entered a state of combat readiness. They put on red battle uniforms. They were demon hunters. After that, the 3 of them closed the noodle shop and went to the scene of the incident. Somun, who was in line when he first saw Hana, was immediately attracted. On this side, the 4th member of the demon hunter, Chol-jung, also received a notification from his teammates. He quickly ran towards the demon. On this side, after arriving, the 3 of them split up to look for the demon Chung-sin. Hana was the first to discover him. She quickly informed her teammates. Mayoke and Motak received the news and immediately split up to block all exits. Meanwhile, Hana chased Chung-sin to the rooftop alone. Unexpectedly, the demon jumped to the next building. This terrifying power made Hana confirm that this demon's strength was level 3. She quickly informed her teammates. After that, Hana exploded with terrifying power and jumped to that building to chase after him. Motak saw that and also refused to be outdone. He jumped to the top of the building with Hana to chase the demon, but then he was thrown off the roof by Chung-sin. Mayoke quickly ran towards his teammates but was hit by a truck and fell to the ground. The driver panicked and got out of the car to check the situation. Mayoke acted like she was not injured at all and stood up and ran away. After that, several people started to attack Chung-sin, but this demon was very strong. They were no match for him. They were quickly sent flying and seriously injured. Chol-jung, after knowing that Chung-sin could use soul power, immediately told his teammates to lure him to the territory. The hunters in the territory had great power and could improve the situation. Under everyone's enticement, Chung-sin went to the territory. Chol-jung decided to arrive before his teammates arrived and restrain him in this area. But the level 3 demon had very strong soul power. Before his teammates could arrive, Chol-jung was killed. Chung-sin sucked out Chol-jung's soul. Then, a woman's soul flew out of Chol-jung's body. The soul flew across the sky, rushing to find another person to possess. The soul flew quickly from street to street looking for the unconscious person. But for some unknown reason, the soul ended up rushing towards Somun and merged with his body. The unexpected incident caused Somun to fly into the sky. Then he fell heavily to the ground. Somun woke up, feeling as if his body was electrified, with no previous memories. Interestingly, his hair seemed to have been electrocuted, suddenly turning into curly hair. When he returned home, Somun saw his grandfather preparing a birthday cake for him. He felt very warm inside. Unexpectedly, his amnesiac grandmother would not recognize Somun. Not only did she snatch the cake, she also put it directly on his face. When he washed his face, Somun was surprised to find that his hair would not be washed straight again. Furthermore, small black dots appeared on his fingers and palms. His strength had even become greater. He used a bar of soap to wash his hands, but the bar of soap suddenly broke into many pieces. He picked up a toothbrush, but the toothbrush also broke. Looking at the 6 inexplicable black dots, Somun suddenly remembered the experience of being electrified during during the day. To be more precise, it felt like being submerged in cold water. Someone placed his hand on his chest. When he woke up again, he found himself on a beach. A silver-haired woman came to him. Her name was Wei Jen. The next day, Somun was in the library telling Ju Yun about last night's dream. At this time, Somun saw his friend Min being blackmailed by some bad students. He quickly limped forward to stop them. In contrast, this made those students even more evil. They slapped Min several times. Somun shouted angrily, attracting the attention of the librarian. The bad students immediately left. But before they left, they remembered Somun's face. At the same time, in another place, a man stepped out of a luxury car to attend Choljong's funeral. This person's name was Jang Mul. On the outside, he was one of the richest tycoons in Korea, the chairman of Jang Mul Group. But Jang Mul's other identity was the leader of the Demon Hunter Group, sponsoring their expenses. Jang Mul told the other 3 hunters that Wei Jen's soul would normally have entered the body of a comatose person, but the person she chose was someone who was awake and full of energy. This has never happened before. However, his energy was very strong. It was filled with passion and anger. They needed this member's help to find out who killed Choljong. And Chung Sin, before killing Choljong, had also killed an old man for protesting against the government's wrongdoings. The strange thing was that the old man's death was quickly concluded as he left this world by himself. Mayor Shin finally breathed a sigh of relief. The protest banner in front of the government building had been cleared. The report on radiation in this city was also quickly resolved by the secretary. Back at school, Min blamed So-mun for meddling in other people's business. He should have pretended not to see. That was enough. Compared to being beaten himself, Min was more afraid that So-mun, who was disabled, was also being bullied. It turned out that the leader of the bullies was Hyuk Woo, Mayor Shin's son. Seeing Min so worried, So-mun felt uncomfortable. Later, on the way home from school, So-mun was stopped by a group of bullies. They robbed So-mun. His school bag and MP3 player that his mother left behind were also taken. So-mun was alone, so he had no way to fight them. At this time, Hana suddenly appeared and taught the bullies a lesson. She also read Hyuk-woo's memories. At school, he acted like a gang leader, but at home, no one respected him. After that, Hana took So-mun to a noodle shop. At this time, So-mun found out that their true identities were demon hunters, who specialized in dealing with evil spirits that escaped to the human world. Hana came to So-mun because she wanted him to join their team. Motak felt a little disdain when he saw that the person who came was a high school student, but he felt that So-mun looked a little familiar. It turned out that Motak was So-mun's parents' colleague. At the same time, he was also the police officer who had fallen from the rooftop. Mayoke told So-mun that the black dots on his hand were the door to the spirit world. She explained, "Put your hand on your chest, close your eyes for 3 seconds, and you can go there." Seeing that So-mun was still a bit hesitant, Mayoke coaxed him and said that if So-mun joined the demon hunters, they would help him heal his leg wound. So-mun immediately obeyed. Counting to 3, So-mun returned to the beach in his dream. Wei Jen told him that the space before him was called Young. It was the boundary between human and the afterlife world after death. Under Wei Jen's guidance, So-mun saw demons for the first time and learned that demons, in order to survive, sought out people filled with murderous intent to possess. They borrowed hosts to kill people and then sucked the souls of the victims. The more souls were sucked, the stronger the demon inside became, eventually completely taking over the human body. But the job of a demon hunter was extremely dangerous. They could face death at any time. This was also the reason why they chose comatose people to be demon hunters. After all, their lives wouldn't last long, so they might as well give it a try and still have a chance to live. Hearing this, So-mun hesitated and refused to participate. His grandparents both needed him to take care of them, and he couldn't take such a risk. But Mayoke still gave So-mun a week to think. 7 days later, if So-mun didn't want to become a hunter, they would erase his memories. After leaving the noodle shop, So-mun received a call from Min. Min had been kidnapped by Hyuk-woo's group. They asked So-mun to take Hana to the school gym. Not only can Hana read minds, her hearing is also excellent. She heard the content of So-mun's phone call. However, So-mun did not want to involve Hana, so he decided to go there alone. In order to dispel Hyuk-woo's anger, So-mun lowered his head and let them beat him. Hyuk-woo, who still hated Hana, continued to vent his anger on So-mun, forcing him to tell him where Hana was. At this moment, So-mun suddenly blocked Hyuk-woo's punch. His hidden power seemed to be about to explode. However, he was immediately surrounded and beaten by them again. So-mun lost consciousness after being punched several times by Hyuk-woo. Just when Min was in despair, 3 demon hunters appeared. Hana carried So-mun on her shoulders and warned the bullies not to cause any more trouble. Motak and Mayoke originally intended to let things go, but the bullies continued to provoke them. Motak couldn't hold it anymore. He jumped up and broke each of their legs. Finally, Mayoke erased the bullies' memories and compassionately healed their broken bones. When So-mun woke up, he found himself in the noodle shop. He had only taken a few steps when he fell down. He felt that his injured leg was strange. It turned out that Mayoke had healed his leg leg, but because he hadn't walked normally for so long, So-mun couldn't adapt to it right now. So-mun was extremely excited. He ran out into the street in joy, feeling how good it was to be able to move on 2 legs. After returning to the noodle shop, So-mun was filled with gratitude towards Myoke. He also confided in everyone about his story. In the accident 7 years ago, So-mun's parents died. Hearing this, the members also showed a lot of sympathy, because before they became demon hunters, they had also experienced terrible accidents that almost killed them. If they hadn't become demon hunters, they might have died long ago. Among them, Motok lost his memory because his skull was shattered. He still can't remember his identity. At this time, Hana felt the presence of a demon. A level 1 demon was rampant in the human world. Mayok and Hana went out to take action, while Motok stayed behind to further educate So-mun. Motok told So-mun that demon hunters had 3 times the strength of normal people. Moreover, under the support of the territory, their strength would double. The gym at the time before had been summoned by the territory. After hearing this, So-mun realized that it was no coincidence that he had blocked Tukwu's punch. Motok instructed So-mun to face his own strength. Motok asked So-mun to punch and attack him. Just like that, So-mun finally broke a chair. This made So-mun extremely surprised. Under Motok's persuasion, So-mun finally agreed to join this hunt. The two ran on the road, even faster than the bus. During this time, Motok explained to So-mun about the differences between the levels of demons. Very quickly, the two arrived at the area where the demon resided. Hana shared the information about the demon that she sensed with everyone. The demon this time was only at level 1. It had not killed anyone yet, so the danger was not great. Therefore, the group split up to search for the demon's location. As it was the first time, So-mun was very active. When passing by a room, So-mun carefully discovered an abnormality. The boy was lying unconscious on the bed, and a woman seemed to be trying to kill someone. So-mun did not wait for the seniors to arrive. He immediately used his ability to remove the iron fence on the window. At this time, Motok also ran over. He quickly pulled the woman away. She was frantically using a pillow to kill the man in front of her. Motok read the man's memory and found out that he had just beaten the boy lying on the bed, causing the boy to hit his head against the wall and become unconscious. The boy's mother, in order to save her son, had beaten the man unconscious and tried to suffocate the man. The woman's face was covered with bruises, showing that she had been brutally beaten frequently. So-mun saw that the boy was no longer breathing, so he quickly used his hand to continuously press on the boy's chest, hoping to save him. After many times without success, So-mun was extremely worried. Fortunately, Mayuke arrived in time. She used her healing ability to save the boy from death. Hana also discovered that the unconscious man was the demon they were looking for. Hana placed her hand on the man's chest and collected the demon's soul. So-mun saw the man's face change continuously. The evil demon in his body was destroyed. This battle ended successfully. After that, a few people suggested that So-mun join the counter group, become a demon hunter, and also gave him a red uniform. Motok didn't want to wait a week anymore. He wanted So-mun to come to the overpass to find them the next morning. If he didn't come, he would erase So-mun's memory. After returning home, the grandmother was very happy to know that her grandson's leg had healed. Although she still didn't recognize him, she couldn't contain her joy. That night, So-mun decided to become a demon hunter. He put his hand on his chest and went to Young to find Wee-jen. After hearing Wee-jen explain the 3 rules of the counter group, So-mun asked to meet his parents. Wee-jen agreed. So-mun wore the red uniform that his seniors gave him. Then, he jumped high, leaving his own blue handprint. The 3 bullies had their memories erased that day. They woke up and found themselves in the gym. They immediately went to question who dared to play such a trick on them. As a result, So-mun was bullied again. But he was no longer the So-mun of yesterday. So-mun took the initiative to counterattack and teach them a lesson. He also warned them to remember today's feelings. Don't bully anyone else in the future, or else they will get more seriously injured in the future. This scene caused his classmates to gather to watch. Juyeon and Eungmin were both extremely surprised. After that, So-mun had to undergo rigorous training to become a qualified demon hunter. Motok explained the benefits of the territory to So-mun in detail. In the territory, the physical strength of a hunter will be 5 times that of an ordinary person, and the demons that enter the territory will not be able to hide themselves. Not only that, becoming a hunter will have the ability to read other people's short-term memories. Most importantly, someone needs to practice and find his own special abilities. For example, Hana has sharp hearing and the ability to read other people's long-term memories. Mayuke has the ability to heal, and Motok has good strength. In the noodle shop, everyone mentioned that Chung-sin killed Choljung. Mayuke took out a book of demon portraits to show So-mun. However, the senior's drawing skills were really not high. So-mun couldn't help but laugh out loud. So he used a pencil to sketch and drew a perfect portrait of Chung-sin. The basement of the noodle shop was the place where hunters were trained. Here, So-mun was taught by Hana and Motok in turn. Under everyone's training, So-mun began to practice diligently. Not long after, after, his level was at another level. One day after school, So-mun and the counter group went on a mission. The target this time was probably a level 3 demon. It was going to suck the soul of a little girl. They had to get there before the demon acted. The sky gradually turned dark. So-mun and everyone drove to where the demon appeared. After arriving at the scene of the incident, they found that the demon had gone out of the territory, so it was difficult to sense. Hana remembered that she had just seen the demon holding a chisel in her hand, so Moon guessed that the demon was a stonecutter. They searched online and found a nearby stone factory. A group of 4 people hurried to the stone factory. The father and daughter of the stone factory kindly took the demon in and taught him the trade. But the demon was full of negative energy, not used to seeing the poor father and daughter happy all day. When everyone arrived, So-mun was asked to wait in place. Coincidentally, a small piece of territory appeared next to him. Could it be that So-mun's skill was to be able to control the territory at will? And not far away, the oven was still smoking. Afterwards, So-mun discovered the demon in a nearby warehouse. He immediately rushed to fight him and informed the remaining teammates. During the process of the seniors rushing over, So-mun, because he had come into contact with the demon, read his memories. He discovered that the mountain-climbing married couple who had been accidentally killed by the demon were the parents of the girl who had reported the missing person. Someone witnessed the demon's crime and was momentarily panicked, so he let the demon run away. The girl was also taken away. To make up for their mistakes, So-mun and Mo-tak chased the demon together. So-mun climbed the tall tower to show Mo-tak the location of the demon, but the demon used the little girl as bait to stop Mo-tak. In the critical moment, So-mun rushed over in time to fight fiercely with the demon, but after a while he was at a disadvantage. The demon's sharp weapon was right in front of So-mun. Suddenly, territories appeared around So-mun, causing his abilities to increase greatly. He successfully reversed the situation. Fortunately, his seniors stopped him in time. If So-mun killed the demon, the soul of the host body would also die. This time, the demon was captured by So-mun, so he personally led the demon and the souls captured by the demon to the young world. So-mun witnessed the demon being punished. He also promised the mountain-climbing married couple that he would pass on a message to their daughter. After bringing the bad guys to justice, So-mun watched the police solve the case, remembering that his parents were also criminal police. After learning that So-mun's father's name was So-gwan, even though he had lost his memory, Mo-tak's eyes still widened when he heard this name. 7 years ago, Mo-tak was brain dead. After a few months, he miraculously woke up. On his person, Mo-tak discovered So-gwan's business card. But Mo-tak and the young world had signed a demon hunter agreement, so he could not get involved in human affairs. Otherwise, he would die again. Mo-tak had no choice but to stop investigating the past. Now, So-gwan's son, So-mun, was in front of him. Mo-tak became even more curious about his background. Therefore, he decided to investigate the cause of his death to the end. On the way back, Hana touched So-mun. She saw the scene of So-mun getting into a car accident when he was young. She looked at So-mun sleeping beside her with heartache. On the other hand, So-mun had repeatedly participated in school bullying behavior, hindering their money-making activities. This had attracted the attention of the gang leader. The next day, So-mun left his crutches to go to school. A series of amazing dance moves and somersaults caught the attention of Ju-yeon and Eung-min. They immediately recognized that this person was So-mun, so they were extremely surprised. In front of the school gate, So-mun successfully stopped another act of bullying. He threw the bullies' school bags more than 10 meters away. Ju-yeon and Eung-min had witnessed everything, so So-mun could no longer pretend. He told them that his legs had recovered, but the reason for the recovery could not be said. However, they did not care about the reason. Seeing So-mun being able to walk normally, they were so happy that they cried. Under the gang leader's guidance, the bullies went to So-mun's class to cause trouble. Unexpectedly, they were beaten up by him and had to run away. So-mun was honest and upright, receiving encouragement from other students. After school, Ju-yeon and Eung-min taught So-mun to ride a bike. While riding across the street, So-mun was almost hit by a truck, causing him to fall to the ground. So-mun seemed to recall the memory of a car accident when he was young. Immediately, symptoms of difficulty breathing appeared. After a while, there was a slight improvement. The gang leader of the bullies felt extremely humiliated after returning. Hyuk-woo came up with an idea. He could attack So-mun's friend to lure So-mun over. Then, he would call more people to beat So-mun alone. On the other hand, in the noodle shop, Hana talked about the scene she saw when she read So-mun's memories. She deduced that the accident So-mun had encountered when he was young was not an accident, but a murder. At that time, there were 2 men at the scene. Besides, Hana also heard the news on the radio about Mayor Shin's election. Mo-tak checked the date and found out that the time he was in a coma was also the day So-mun's family had an accident. Mo-tak borrowed So-mun's ID card and went to the police station to get the case report of himself and So-mun's family. Mo-tak was shocked to find out that the report said that he had tried to leave this world and that So-mun's parents had drunk driving. This was obviously unreasonable. Motak was very suspicious that police officer Kim was in charge of these two cases, so he decided to ask for clarification himself. At the police station, Motak happened to meet a very arrogant drug dealer. His name was Chang Q. Because he had connections, he was released. After meeting Chang Q, Motak's head appeared the image of himself being murdered. One of the people who killed him was Chang Q. Afterwards, Motak, through observing the words and actions of police officer Kim, found that she was very familiar with him. It was very possible that she was an old colleague, but police officer Kim was very cold to him. It was not until Motak said that there were two people who killed So-mun's family, which was inconsistent with what was written in the report, that police officer Kim was confused. When she investigated, it was clear that there was only one criminal, and he had already left this world. In the evening, after school, So-mun and Hana came to find the daughter of the mountain climbing married couple. Through their connection with the young world, a family of three reunited for a short time. After the mountain climbing married couple said their last words to their daughter, they left. Being able to do their best to help others made So-mun very happy. Unexpectedly at this time, the bullies kidnapped Ju-yeon and Eung-min. The two were beaten and threatened by them, and Eung-min made a video call to So-mun. Eung-min was very chivalrous and didn't want to let his best friend take the risk. Hyuk-woo had no choice but to snatch Eung-min's phone and call So-mun himself. When So-mun saw his friend being beaten so brutally, he was extremely angry. Hyuk-woo's relaxed smile made him even more agitated. When So-mun arrived, many thugs with sticks were waiting to take him down. Hyuk-woo spoke arrogantly. He said that he wanted to bury So-mun and his friends here and build a high-rise building on top of it. After all, his father and Taesin Real Estate Company had secretly cooperated for a long time. So-mun looked at his friend lying on the ground with the arrogant people in front of him. He angrily questioned why they did that. The moment So-mun got angry and expressed his emotions, the territory was opened. Now he was full of power, with the mentality of ending everything. So-mun used his own strength to fight against more than 10 people. So-mun knocked them all to the ground. Meanwhile, Wee-jen in the young world suddenly became transparent. Her state was very unstable. She felt that So-mun had lost control of his emotions and opened a territory. It was very likely that he would hurt people. Wee-jen told her colleagues to quickly notify the other demon hunters to find So-mun. Upon receiving the notification, the teammates also saw the territory that So-mun had opened. When they rushed over, they saw So-mun beating Hyuk-woo. Fortunately, they stopped him in time to avoid irreparable consequences. Under Motak's comfort, So-mun cried bitterly in pain. He also realized that he had caused a disaster. He still could not fully control his abilities. At that moment, the alarm sounded. The police arrived. Mayoke wanted to erase the memories of the students there, but to make up for his mistakes, So-mun bravely stayed to take responsibility. He also wanted to end it so that the school bullying would never happen again. The seniors knew that So-mun had no one to protect him. It was very likely that he would lose to the powerful forces. Therefore, after leaving, they wisely went to find Chairman Jang-mul to rescue him. At the police station, the shameless school teacher said that the bully was the victim. Because Hyuk-woo was the son of Mayor Shin, this teacher blamed all the blame on So-mun alone. At that time, the parents of the bullies ran over. These well-dressed people criticized So-mun without asking for the reason. A woman even attacked So-mun for not having parents and therefore lacking in education. Another man went even further. He stepped forward and punched So-mun, causing his nose to bleed. So-mun was isolated and helpless. At that moment, his savior arrived. Chairman Jang-mul appeared forcefully as So-mun's guardian. Hana carried a pile of sticks used by the bullies behind her back. Chairman Jang-mul relied on his eloquence and strong identity to demand a thorough investigation of the school bullying cases and bring the mastermind to justice. Furthermore, he even gave the man who hit So-mun a punch in revenge for So-mun. At that time, the school teachers hoped that the two sides would reconcile. But Ju-yeon and Eung-min stood up. They represented all the bullied students, hoping that the school would thoroughly resolve this issue. Faced with so much criticism, the teachers could only remain silent and say nothing. The matter had now been resolved. So Moon felt very grateful to Chairman Jang-mul. He told him to concentrate on being a demon hunter. He would be responsible for the consequences. When he returned home, his grandparents received a notice from the school. When they found out that So-mun was not injured, they breathed a sigh of relief. So-mun also told them the truth that his leg had healed. His grandparents were moved to tears. The three of them hugged each other and cried. At this time, Chairman Jang-mul and Hana hid to the side, and seeing this scene, they couldn't help but cry too. The next day, Motak started training early in the morning. Tracing his past made him feel very upset. He could be sure that the person who attacked him was related to the person who killed So-mun's parents, but he didn't know where to start. On the other hand, after meeting Motak, police officer Kim remembered what he said. The appearance of a new person interrupted her thoughts. Police officer Kang resigned to become police officer Kim's new partner. Before that, police officer Kim had always been isolated. The first task she gave to police officer Kang was to investigate a rapist. The next day, the investigation into school violence was announced to the entire school. The news that So-mun might be the heir to President Jong Mul's transportation company was also hotly discussed by his classmates. So-mun was walking on the street with his friends, attracting everyone's attention. He had become completely famous. The location of the bullies outside was also sealed off. Ju-yeon and Eung-min exclaimed, this matter was finally over. On the other hand, Hyuk-woo, who was taken away for investigation, was dejected in the police station. He even took a photo with the staff there. When he posted the photo he had just taken online, Mayor Shin's secretary came and deleted the photo. Afterwards, he was ordered to stay put while Mayor Shin announced the new project. At this time, the mayor was holding a press conference about the new project. He was very ambitious, wanting to turn Jungjin into a central area to successfully establish a global ecological park. On this side, police officer Kim received news that the rapist she had captured had been released. Therefore, she angrily blocked his car but could not stop him. She returned and stormed into Director Choi's office, questioning him why he had released the criminal. Since the incident of Mo-tak falling from the 5th floor, the once kind leader had become someone who only cared about profit. Director Choi thought she was pretending to be noble. He hoped she would stop doing such useless things. Police officer Kim was completely disappointed with the police station. In the end, she decided to help Mo-tak find the truth of the past. Police officer Kim agreed to Mo-tak's request. She took out the phone he had used before the incident. They went to the agreed location to meet. Her change surprised Mo-tak. Even more surprising, police officer Kim told him that the two of them used to be lovers. After saying that, she ignored his expression and left. On this side, Chang Kyu, who had been released, went to the Taesin real estate company. His older brother was director No of the Taesin group. Chang Kyu told his older brother that he had met someone who looked very much like the police officer in that year than at the police station. The person he mentioned was probably Mo-tak. After hearing this, director No seemed to have something in mind. In the noodle shop, Mayoke's young teammate Suho informed Mayoke that the three members of the Young World were discussing whether to strip So-mun of his demon hunter status. After learning about this, Mayoke quickly gathered everyone to discuss how to respond. So-mun didn't want to lose this job because Wee-jen had promised that if he did well, she would let him meet his parents. So the group went to the Young World, planning to argue firmly against this proposal. Suho stood on So-mun's side to explain to her, but Gi-ran and Woo-sik both thought that So-mun looked like he was very likely to bring danger and was not suitable to continue being a hunter. Hana was about to speak up, but Mayoke spoke first. She angrily said without any respect that had So-mun done something wrong or not, had anyone died? While they were taking risks outside, the people here could only sit and talk, and So-mun's beating of others this time was also out of protecting his friends, a legitimate defense, and should not be held responsible. Mayoke said that So-mun was a kind and brave child. No one was more suitable to be a demon hunter than him. Mo-tak and Hana, who stood behind her, also silently supported her. Just like that, Mayoke helped So-mun protect his identity as a demon hunter. On this side, Mayor Shin was enjoying himself in the sauna after playing tennis. Suddenly, Chairman John came without any invitation. He said frankly, in front of Mayor Shin and the others, that this land was his. Mayor Shin had rented it for 50 years. This place used to be a cowshed. Mayor Shin's father was just a cow dung cleaner. Chairman Joan also said that Mayor Shin had used unfair means to achieve his current achievements, and even wanted to build a park on this land without permission. Mayor Shin just held back his laughter and said nothing after hearing that. But when he heard Chairman Joan say that Mayor Shin buried people on rented land, Mayor Shin's expression suddenly changed. Mayor Shin felt threatened and immediately contacted the subordinate Sang Pin, wanting to lower Chairman John's prestige. Sang Pin immediately went to find Chung Sin. Chung Sin especially listened to Sang Pin's words and even affectionately called Sang Pin father, but it was clear that these two were not father and son. Then Sang Pin received a call from his son. Judging from the way he spoke, it seemed that it was his biological son. Chung Sin watched his back leave, his eyes filled with unwillingness. At this time, Wee-jen, wanting to keep her promise to So-mun, asked Suho to help check the death records of So-mun's parents based on the time of the accident being 2013. Suho checked the file cabinet but could not find any documents from 2013. This made Suho feel very surprised. On the other hand, Mo-tak found someone to restore the data on the phone and found that he was investigating a girl named Kim Young-nim. Through the police database, she had been missing since that year and was considered dead. After returning to the noodle shop, Mo-tak looked at the records. His last call before the accident was to So-mun's father. He found this phone number very familiar. When he pressed the call button, the person on the other end of the line was indeed So-mun. Coincidentally, So-mun was also outside the noodle shop. He looked at everyone in the shop and smiled warmly, while the people inside felt extremely heartbroken. Seeing Mo-tak calling him, So-mun was very surprised. Mo-tak said that this was his old number. Hana and Myoke were also very cooperative, pretending that nothing had happened. So-moon saw that the cell phone in Motak's hand was very old and felt very curious. Motak told So-moon that he was also a criminal police officer before. So-moon suddenly felt that there was a lot of fate. It turned out that Motak was in the same profession as his parents. Then, Motak changed the subject. The next day was So-moon's first day at the noodle shop. Motak told him to do his best. Chung-sin on the other side followed the instructions and started to act, but he did not follow the orders and directly killed Chairman John. Then he went to the cake shop to buy a cake as Sang-pin requested. A short-haired woman named Jang-hee suddenly walked up to the cashier. Chung-sin saw her smiling creepily when he went through the mirror. He turned to look at her and saw that she was still normal. When the woman left, Chung-sin kept staring at her. Now Jang-hee has returned home. While her husband was taking a shower, she started preparing lunch and secretly added a spoonful of peanut butter to the vegetable juice. Then on the table, she watched her husband drink the juice and asked him if he would really die if he ate peanuts. It turned out that Jang-hee's husband was allergic to peanuts. Any dish containing peanuts, eating one bite would be life-threatening. But just now, she gave him a big spoonful. At this moment, her husband's breathing started to become rapid, and he hurriedly ran to find medicine. Jang-hee was laughing crazily on the side. When her husband fell to the ground and died, she took out her husband's phone and transferred 1.2 billion won to her. On the other side, Chung-sin stood outside the restaurant holding a cake, watching the happy and harmonious Sang-pin family. An indescribable feeling of admiration and jealousy rose in his heart. This cake was bought for celebrating Sang-pin's son's birthday. Sang-pin went out to receive the real estate documents that Chung-sin got from Chairman John. Sang-pin had just praised Chung-sin for doing a good job, but then found out that Chung-sin had killed Chairman John. Sang-pin was extremely angry and immediately dragged Chung-sin into the kitchen to beat him up. Chung-sin held his head and did not resist at all. Not only that, he also knelt down to apologize and even wiped the blood stains on Sang-pin's expensive shoes. On the other side, Jang-hee was applying lipstick in front of the mirror when suddenly a hand reached out and strangled her. She saw herself through the mirror, and the two versions looked at each other and laughed loudly. Meanwhile, So-moon was cleaning outside the noodle shop and suddenly saw a small piece of territory, so he touched it. Hana, Motak, and Myoke were all very surprised. The three of them could not summon the territory at will. Based on what happened before, Hana deduced that So-moon's special ability was to summon the territory, but when So-moon actively tried to summon, there was no reaction. At this time, Jang-hee was happily shopping at the mall and accidentally entered the territory. This time, So-moon and Hana sensed the demon's actions at the same time. The whole team immediately drove there. Motak told So-moon that the level 3 demon was very difficult to deal with. Not only could it use soul power, but it could also read the hunter's thoughts to bewitch them. Motak told So-moon to be careful. When they arrived, the four of them split up to search each floor. At this time, Jang-hee was talking to the demon in her head. The demon liked the necklace around the store employee's neck, so she didn't hesitate to reach out and snatch it. The commotion attracted the attention of the security guard. Not long after, So-moon and Jang-hee passed by each other. So-moon immediately notified the members and followed her into the elevator. The sharp level 3 demon discovered that someone was following him. When there were only the two of them left in the elevator, he immediately attacked and knocked So-moon unconscious. Fortunately, Hana arrived in time to prevent the demon from escaping. The two sides exchanged countless moves. At first, they were evenly matched, but then the demon began to pull out its weapons and continuously hit her with its high heels. Hana was completely powerless to fight back. In the end, the demon even strangled Hana and told her about her painful past. Her entire family died of poisoning, leaving only Hana alive. So-moon heard everything in his sleep. At this moment, Motak ran over and punched the demon hard, knocking him out. Then the police finally arrived. They were following Jang-hee because of the case of her murdered husband. Seeing that they could not perform the exorcism for the time being, Motak pushed back the police and fled the scene with So-moon and Hana. Being reminded of painful memories by the demon, Hana was extremely upset. She poured her negative emotions into her punches. Seeing So-moon coming forward, she warned him that if he dared to reveal what had just happened in the elevator, he would definitely die. So-moon did not answer and just started grilling meat. He remembered what Hana had said in the car. As long as she heard the sound of grilling meat, she would calm down. He knew that Hana's mood was definitely not good at the moment. While grilling meat, he began to comfort her. Under So-moon's warm comfort, Hana finally smiled again. On this side, Motak went to find police officer Kim to investigate Kim Young-nim's case together. He showed her Kim Young-nim's photo. Motak was very curious. Police officer Kim is his student and ex-girlfriend. Why doesn't she know about this case? Police officer Kim angrily said that he was afraid of her being revenged, worried about her safety, so he didn't allow her to intervene. The atmosphere between the two became awkward. Then they went to Kim Young Nim's home address together. During the investigation, Motak stared at police officer Kim, thinking that this woman had been waiting for him for 7 years. His mood was extremely complicated. After tearing off the wallpaper, Motak discovered dried blood stains. The two took pictures and used cotton swabs to get evidence. At this time, police officer Kim received a phone call and hurriedly left the scene. It turned out that Chairman John's body was discovered. His death was extremely tragic, not something that an ordinary person could do. Hana went to an old house, so Moon was worried about her, so he followed behind. This house was Hana's previous home. The house had not been there for a long time, but the familiar scene before her eyes made her feel heartbroken. Suddenly, she heard a noise in the room. It turned out that two siblings were secretly sleeping in this old house. So Moon heard the noise and rushed in. He recognized the sister who went to the same school as him. On this side, Sang Pin brought Chairman John's real estate documents to meet Mayor Shin. As a result, as soon as he entered, he was thrown a glass of wine at his head by Mayor Shin's subordinate and was chased out. Director No saw this and quickly stepped forward to pull him out. Director No blamed Sang Pin for killing Chairman John. Now he had to handle it well. Director No wanted Sang Pin to kill Chung Sin to avoid trouble. Later, inside another private room, Mayor Shin discussed with his subordinates how to handle the documents obtained from Chairman John and solve the problem of his son. Director Choi also attended this evening. Under the coercion and enticement of Mayor Shin, Director Choi agreed to quickly handle this case. The incident should have developed in this order, but when Director Choi's men arrived, they discovered that police officer Kim had called people from the National Forensic Center to collect evidence. They also locked the door and did not let anyone in. On this side, Motak received a call from So-mun to go to the scene to investigate the situation. At this time, there was a sudden noise outside. It turned out that this neighborhood was about to be demolished. The gangsters of the Tayson group were checking to see if anyone was still alive in this area. Originally, they wanted to pretend that no one in the house could escape, but the girl in the bathroom spoke up. The gangsters immediately broke down the door and rushed in, but unfortunately for them, there was a group of hunters there. They kicked the gangsters out of the gate. At this time, Motak discovered Chang-kyu sitting in the car. This familiar face made him regain his memories of his death. On the rooftop, Motak was surrounded by enemies on all sides. After realizing that there was no way out, he resolutely jumped from the upper floor. Chang-kyu was extremely scared when he saw that Motak, who was already dead, had now appeared in front of him. Motak glared fiercely at the enemy before his eyes. Chang-kyu tried to escape but was knocked unconscious by So-mun. The subordinate saw that the situation was not good and drove away. Hana read Chang-kyu's memories and confirmed that he was the leader in the attack on Motak that year. But because he overdosed on drugs and suffered from amnesia, Hana had no news of Kim Young Nim. So-mun naively thought that just handing Chang-kyu over to the police would solve everything. But Motak said that he had cooperated with the corrupt police. After discussing, they decided to put Chang-kyu in a sack and hand him over to his brother to deal with. The group drove to the front gate of Tayson and turned off the camera at the door with a jammer. So-mun threw Chang-kyu down. After observing Director No's reaction, Motak deduced that Tayson group and the masterminds had collaborated to kill him and his colleague, who were also So-mun's parents. He did not tell So-mun the truth, afraid that So-mun would have a mental breakdown if he knew. The next day, Ju-yeon and Eung-min talked about the crazy woman in the mall. Ju-yeon said that a group of kind people had caught her and that they all had curly hair. At this moment, she stared at So-mun, suspecting that he was also one of them. So-mun heard that and rode his bike away. The three happily chased each other on the road. So-mun accidentally rode his bike past the road where the accident happened when he was young, and he recalled the tragic experiences of his childhood. Until now, he still did not dare to face this road. On the other side, Director No came to visit Chang-kyu, who was in the hospital. Chang-kyu had lost his memory of last night, but his subordinate insisted that he had seen Motak. Moreover, Motak had also lost his memory. Under Director No's questioning, Chang-kyu insisted that he had confirmed that Motak was dead that year before retreating. After that, Chang-kyu denied what his subordinate said, claiming that his subordinate had drunk too much alcohol and was talking nonsense. Director No angrily strangled the subordinate. Director No ordered that regardless of whether the person was Motak or not, he must be brought before Director No. Inside the noodle shop, Maok was unhappy to see that everyone was investigating the murderer who injured Motak. Maok reminded them not to interfere in the affairs of ordinary people. And So-mun, after searching for news about Director No without any results, sat down and drew a portrait of Director No. Then, through the picture, he found Director No's wanted poster. It turned out that Tayson's director was a gangster. Police officer Kim looked at the photo of the crime scene of Chairman John's murder, and the murderer's method of killing was truly too cruel, without any humanity at all. Police officer Kang said that oil stains were found in the murderer's footprints, and it was possible that he was involved in car-related work. The strange thing was that of the two surveillance cameras cameras next to each other on the road. Only the first camera captured the murderer's image. The next moment, the murderer disappeared. At night, Sang-pin recalled what director No said. After thinking about it, Sang-pin finally made up his mind. Then he took a gun and went to find Chung-sin. Sang-pin planned to shoot when Chung-sin turned his back, but still hesitated. Chung-sin also took out the ticket to the match with his father when he was 10 years old. Although Sang-pin was touched to know that Chung-sin still kept memories with him, Sang-pin still made up his mind to eliminate Chung-sin tonight. At the moment Sang-pin was about to pull the trigger, he discovered that the gun had been disabled. Chung-sin angrily used his soul power, controlling Sang-pin to point the gun at his own head, finally shooting himself and leaving this world. So Moon stayed at home to look up the documents of Chang Q and director No. He accidentally discovered the relics left by his parents. There was a memory card in the laptop, so Moon watched the video content. He saw that his parents seemed to be following a car. The next day, Motak made an appointment to meet with police officer Kim. When Motak was wondering what to wear, So-mun told him the information he had investigated. A wanted gangster overnight became the director of a top corporation. There must be something mysterious. So-mun was very interested in seeing Motak wanting to go out to solve the case, so he followed Motak to the blood testing center. The center staff told Motak that the blood sample from the day before was Kim Young-nim's. At the same time, she was pregnant, and it also included a man's blood type AB and an animal's blood. Next, they went to see police officer Kim, who was investigating the scene of Chairman John's crime. Motak gave the blood test report to police officer Kim. Through the detailed observation, Motak discovered that the suspect's footprints suddenly disappeared, and there were blood stains on the rocks by the roadside. It seemed that the suspect had stepped on the stone wall and jumped onto the roof. At this time, police officer Kim received another phone call to the police station. Motak and So-mun immediately jumped onto the roof. Sure enough, the culprit's footprints were found there. On the other side, all the information about Chairman John's case had been handed over to someone else by Director Choi. Police officer Kang was extremely angry. He felt that Director Choi was really not human and could cover up such a cruel crime. Police officer Kim was also unwilling to go to Chairman John's villa to search. From a book, she discovered the connection between Kim Young-nim and Mayor Shin. During the time Mayor Shin ran for office, Kim Young-nim was his volunteer. Police officer Kim seemed to have thought of something. She immediately flipped through Chairman John's documents and found out that his blood type was AB. At this time, Motak texted her about the suspect's clue, while So-mun curiously flipped through Kim Young-nim's related documents. Suddenly, he discovered a picture of the car his parents were following. He asked Motak where this picture came from. Motak thought that this could be evidence that Kim Young-nim was dumped. Then So-mun showed Motak the video. So-mun wondered why his parents and Motak were investigating the same case. So-mun realized that his parents were likely murdered. He grabbed the report of the car accident 7 years ago from Motak's hand, and sure enough, he saw a picture of his parents' death. Hearing the commotion, Mayok and Hana also ran over. So-mun angrily questioned them why they hit him. Hana told So-mun that he had met the murderer and knew who the murderer was, but because So-mun blamed himself, he chose to forget the memories of that year's accident. Therefore, Hana could not see the murderer. So-mun shouted loudly, wanting to regain his memories while crying and running away from the scene. Then he called Ju-yeon and Eung-min. What So-mun needed most now was the help of his friends. He cycled to the road where the accident happened, determined to recall all the memories from before. So-mun kept blaming himself for killing his parents. The two good friends could only hug So-mun and comfort him. The next day, Hana took the initiative to come find So-mun. She explained that everyone hid the truth about So-mun's parents' death just to protect him. Hana also wanted to help him regain his memories. At this time, the grandfather asked about Hana's identity. So-mun said that she was his girlfriend, which made the grandfather very happy. The two of them went into So-mun's room. Hana used the picture that So-mun drew in the car that year as a means to return to the night of the accident. Hana reminded So-mun not to touch anything in this world, otherwise it would cause problems. The two of them saw that the murderer of So-mun's parents was Chung-sin. Their souls were also eaten by him, so the new young world had no information about So-mun's parents. Unexpectedly, Chung-sin discovered them. He laughed and threatened Hana that he would definitely find her body. So-mun was momentarily agitated and attacked him, despite Hana's advice. Chung-sin also recognized that So-mun was the boy that year. He angrily strangled So-mun, and the two of them suddenly returned to the auto repair shop in reality. Then they continued to fight. Chung-sin can use the phone to travel between So-mun's memories and reality. Hana sees that things are about to get out of control. She quickly brings So-mun back to the real world. So-mun is angry and wants to go back to continue fighting the enemy. Hana reminds him that he is currently no match for a level 3 demon. Think about his grandparents. So-mun is extremely helpless. He swears to kill the demon to avenge his parents. Myoke is also feeling very sad. Myoke doesn't know how to tell So-mun that his parents' souls have been eaten by the demon. At this time, Hana takes So-mun back to the noodle shop. Myoke is heartbroken heartbroken when she learns that someone knows everything. Mayoke hugs him, an innocent child who saw his parents brutally murdered with his own eyes. This pain is unimaginable, because the truth is clear. Mo-tak doesn't hide it from So-mun anymore. He talked about the real relationship between him and So-mun's parents. They were colleagues and were investigating a murder case together. At this time, So-mun suddenly remembered that on the day of the accident, the broadcast of the election for Mayor Shin in the city was playing. So-mun's father was extremely angry and turned off the radio, saying that he would definitely investigate to the end. Later, the two discovered from the newspaper that Mo-tak had collected that Kim Young-nim was one of the people that Mayor Shin had trained back then, but had suddenly disappeared. Combined with the data that Mo-tak had investigated before, he guessed that Mayor Shin was the one who caused Kim Young-nim's death. After Mo-tak and So-mun's parents discovered the clue, Mayor Shin sent assassins to kill and silence him in order to keep his position. Now the case has developed to another level. Recently, Chairman John was also murdered. The traces left at the scene showed that the culprit was most likely a demon. Actually, Mo-tak had already identified the suspect, just waiting for police officer Kim to confirm it. Before leaving, Mo-tak encouraged So-mun that he was not alone. The counter group would always be by So-mun's side. Not long after, Mo-tak received the camera footage sent by police officer Kim. He finally confirmed that the culprit was Chung Sin. The most important thing was to find him. At this moment, So-mun was also pensively looking at Chung Sin's portrait in his room. He wanted to engrave the face of the enemy who killed his parents in his mind. He must find Chung Sin. Suddenly, the scene of the fight with him appeared. So-mun thought carefully for a long time, and finally found a useful detail, which was the name of the parking lot where the demon appeared. Could it be that Chung Sin's hideout was that parking lot? After receiving someone's notice, Mo-tak quickly contacted police officer Kim to quickly go to the parking lot. Very quickly, the 4 people in the squad and police officer Kim arrived at the scene at the same time. The whole group carefully conducted a search. Police officer Kim was extremely upset. Who were the people that Mo-tak brought? He told her that So-mun was Soo-gwan's son. The other 2 were the employees of the noodle shop. Police officer Kim began to think when he heard So-mun's name. Very quickly, So-mun discovered Chung Sin's uniform and conveniently learned the name of his client. At this time, police officer Kim appeared beside him. She was a little surprised because the doctor had initially diagnosed that So-mun's leg would not recover. Now it seemed that he had no difficulty walking. She was also very happy that So-mun was healthy. On this side, Mayoke had an important discovery. She discovered a dead body in a very terrifying state. The victim was none other than Sang Pin. Police officer Kim asked everyone to leave because now there was a dead person. The police would take over the area. Police officer Kim knew that this case would definitely be covered up, so she notified the entire media to get involved. Director Choi was surrounded by reporters as soon as he arrived at the scene. Director Choi saw the decomposed body of the victim, and he was so disgusted that he vomited. Meanwhile, Mayor Shin secretly met with an old man. From their conversation, it was known that Mayor Shin's ambition was not simply the position of Mayor Shin. His ultimate goal was to win the presidency of South Korea. At the same time, it was also known that this politician's background was not simple. The next morning, Hana was busy at the noodle shop when a TV news caught her attention. A man named Song Man-ho was standing in front of the police station for an interview. He had previously been involved in a murder case but had always denied it. A group of people stood at the door. The atmosphere was extremely chaotic. This scene reminded Hana of her high school days, when her father was framed and the company's business was stagnant. She had sought help from her uncle. That uncle was none other than Song Man-ho from the news. Not only did he not have the slightest bit of compassion, he also spoke sarcastically and provocatively. In the end, he took out 200,000 won and gave it to Hana. How could Hana forget the humiliation that year? Returning to the present, she was determined to let him know the price he had to pay for his cruelty. At the same time, Song Man-ho was scolding his subordinates for letting the news of the dead employee leak out. Because a company employee went to the police station to report, Song Man-ho was investigated by the police. The police promised to keep the identity of the informant absolutely confidential. However, very quickly, the poor employee was dealt with. A new employee saw his colleague helplessly being beaten. He couldn't bear to look anymore, so he went to support Song Man-ho's hand. This made him extremely suspicious. Was this new employee an intelligence agent? After beating him for a while, Song Man-ho took out some money and gave it to the employee, warning him not to say anything to the police. Otherwise, his sister would be the first to suffer the consequences. At the same time, Director No's subordinate also followed someone back. The subordinate reported the investigation information to the boss. Director No was very surprised that Mo-tak was still alive. Now it's the presidential election season. Absolutely no incident can happen. Director No ordered his subordinates to bring Mo-tak back here. On this side, everyone also had new discoveries. Under the command of Director No and Chang Kyu, there was also a subordinate who specialized in hunting for information about others. Director No initially traded in illegal goods on the black market. Later, he successfully built a career with Chang Q, becoming a force behind Mayor Shin. In recent years, he has tried every way to launder money. At this time, Hana brought even more shocking news. Song Man-ho, who has appeared in the newspapers recently, was also Director No's subordinate. Her father's company was also planned by this man. In recent years, they have also used this method to eliminate many opponents. Hana's painful memories also made Mayoke feel heartbroken. Suddenly, Chang Q led a group of people over. They were ordered by Director No to bring Motak back. Who would have thought that before Chang Q could do anything, Mayok had already sent him flying. One of the group members wanted to pull out a knife to threaten him, but was stopped by Chairman Jang Mul. Motak grabbed Chang Q's hand, intending to teach him a lesson, but unexpectedly read his memories. Motak accidentally learned that Mayor Shin intended to run for president. Knowing this information, the whole team decided to quickly expose Mayor Shin and not let him run for president. In Chang Q's memory, Motak also heard a sentence: Motak must be caught, otherwise the incident at the reservoir will be discovered. Hearing Motak mention the reservoir, So Moon suddenly remembered something. There was information about a reservoir in his father's notebook. There was also a series of numbers written at the end. So Moon quickly took it out and studied it with everyone. At this time, at the police station, Director Choi also learned that police officer Kim seemed to be investigating the disappearance of Kim Young-nim. Director Choi's face changed color in an instant. That night, he hurriedly went to see Mayor Shin. As soon as he arrived, the first thing he said was that Chung Sin had taken away an important piece of criminal evidence. At the same time, he reported that Motak also wanted to participate in this matter, but he had already sent someone to handle it. Suddenly, Mayor Shin said that let this matter spread. Chung Sin was a serial killer. The more public opinion, the better. Chung Sin had to be found quickly, but he could not be left alive. Because the media reported it widely, Chung Sin's face was also made public. The convenience store employee had discovered him. Chung Sin had originally intended to kill to silence him. At this moment, Hyuk Woo came to buy things. When Chung Sin passed by Hyuk Woo, the devil felt that Hyuk Woo was the type of person that was suitable for him. His whole body exuded murderous aura. On the other side, Chang Q's subordinates secretly placed a tracking device on the counter group's car. Then, on the way, the group arrived at the reservoir. Hana felt the devil again. The person possessed by the devil was her uncle, Song Man-ho. They immediately rushed to the scene of the crime. Suddenly, the whole world seemed to shake. Their car was hit by a large truck. The truck crashed several times before stopping. Chang Q thought that everyone was dead, so he happily got out of the car to take pictures. Unexpectedly, Motak kicked open the car door. His eyes were extremely angry, as if he wanted to kill Chang Q. Chang Q was shocked when he discovered that all 4 people were still alive, so he quickly took his subordinates and ran away. On this side, Song Man-ho discovered that his power had become stronger. He was about to continue his violence. Unexpectedly, Hana ran up and kicked him away. During the fight, Song Man-ho said that Hana's family's death had nothing to do with him. It was her parents who chose to take the medicine and leave this world. Hana angrily punched him and knocked him out. Then So Moon replaced Hana to save the evil spirit. So Moon went to the young world to meet the victim Sung Woo. He worked hard and with great difficulty entered the Dajong construction group, owning the dreaming employee card. But after a month of working, Sung Woo was strangled to death by Song Man-ho using his employee card. What a cruel fate. He still had a lot of work to do. Sung Woo wanted to travel and fall in love, taste delicious food. Then Sung Woo's deceased grandmother appeared. The two of them left the human world hand in hand. After So Moon returned to reality, the group went to find evidence that Song Man-ho killed Sung Woo. That day, after the murder, he went out with a prostitute and gave the girl Sung Woo's employee card. The girl kept the card, but she lied to Hana that she threw it away. However, she couldn't fool Hana, who could read memories. Hana then handed over the murder weapon to the police. Everything was successful. The group returned to the sisters' noodle shop. Mayoke made Hana her favorite fried egg. In fact, it was Hana's younger sister's favorite dish. She thought about her lovely younger sister and shed tears of sadness, feeling that she had survived alone. The next day, Song Man-ho woke up with a face full of injuries. He found himself on the golf course. He had completely forgotten what happened yesterday. At this time, the police arrived. Song Man-ho was arrested for murdering an employee. In the noodle shop, everyone was very excited after watching the news, so they invited customers to eat for free. Then Chairman Jang Mul brought the news. He got the Taeson Group's secret fund records from Song Man-ho. He would use it to report directly to the tax office. Hana said that this could put the bad guys in jail, but it could not prove that So-mun's parents were murdered. So-mun firmly said that he would find evidence that Taeson Group hired a murderer. Only then did the group of 4 notice that Chairman Jang Mul had brought a new car for them. Motak drove directly into the Taeson Group's parking lot. Then, he knocked out the guard. He took his employee card and entered entered the elevator smoothly. In the young world, Gi-ran warned Motok not to interfere in human affairs, but Motok pretended not to hear anything. Gi-ran was extremely helpless. She wanted to reincarnate immediately because she did not want to be implicated by the demon hunters. At this time, Woo-sik said that Hana also often used her superpowers to help people. On this side, Motok, with his strength, stormed into Director No's office. He questioned Director No. Killing someone and burying the body was just a small matter to him, right? Director No listened and told Motok to take out the evidence. Motok said his guess. Kim Young-nim's body was buried in the reservoir. At this time, Chang Kyu and his subordinates ran over, but Director No stopped him. He told that let Motok to leave safely, because he discovered that Motok had actually lost his memory. In fact, the so-called reservoir was not a real reservoir. He told Chang Kyu not to touch Motok's group, just keep an eye out, otherwise, he wouldn't know what would happen. Chang Kyu expressed his grievance and said that he also wanted to harm them but couldn't. Chang Kyu said that Motok and his group weren't like humans, they wouldn't die no matter what. On this side, So-mun and his two friends used a satellite map to find the reservoir. If 7 years had passed, the city's terrain would have changed. Maybe they should check the satellite map from 7 years ago. Sure enough, after examining it, So-mun made a discovery. The portrait of the wanted criminal Chung Sin was widely reported by the media. Mayor Shin also held a press conference. He announced that a large force would be deployed to hunt down Chung Sin. The city would enter a state of emergency to stop the criminals. The police department also set up a special task force. At this time, So-mun was next to the electric pole. He looked at the data on it, and it was the same as what his father had written in the notebook. He discovered that the reservoir data written in the notebook was the number of the electric pole. Motok then told police officer Kim to investigate. He successfully determined the location of the reservoir. The four of them immediately got in the car and set off. At the police station, Yang Hee was being interrogated by the police, but she kept saying unusual things. She showed an abnormal mental state. Both the lawyer and the police present were extremely confused. On the way to be escorted, she saw Chung Sin's wanted poster. Yang Hee felt that Chung Sin could definitely help her find Motok to take revenge. She suddenly opened her handcuffs and knocked down the police. The police had a hard time knocking her down. Meanwhile, So-mun and a few teammates followed the numbered electric poles. They found the location of the reservoir. They broke into a private property that was fenced off. There was trash everywhere, and there was a strange smell in the air. Then they saw a shocking scene. Dirty water flowed out from here. It would then be discharged into the water supply system, polluting the water supply. After they installed the camera on the tree, they drove away. Tomorrow is the anniversary of So-mun's mother's death. Mayoke gave So-mun meat to comfort him. The next day, Ju-yeon and Eung-min brought food to comfort him. So-mun was also cooking meat soup. The grandmother forgot that today was her daughter's death anniversary. In front of the altar, So-mun was wearing black and kneeling to his parents. Police officer Kim loaded her gun. She took police officer Kang to the place where people reported wanted criminals. They happened to drive past So-mun's group. So-mun held flowers and went with his friend to the scene of the accident to pay respect to his parents. After all the ceremonies were over, everyone said goodbye and left. On So-mun's way back, he noticed a dark shadow passing by behind him. He followed the trail and found out that it was Chung Sin, whom he had been searching for many days. Wee-jen felt that So-mun was fighting against a level 3 devil alone and was very worried. She reminded So-mun to quickly contact his teammates. Don't act alone, but So-mun wanted to avenge his parents, so he didn't listen to advice. Moreover, with the help of the territory, So-mun was much more confident. He lured Chung Sin into the territory. Using his strength, he knocked Chung Sin to the ground. But during the contact, Chung Sin read the memories of the territory. He quickly reacted and knocked So-mun out of the territory. Without the help of the territory, So-mun was no match for a level 3 devil. At the same time, Wee-jen in the young world was becoming weak. Seeing this, the other 3 people quickly informed the countergroup. The other members rushed to the rescue. On this side, So-mun was trampled under Chung Sin's feet. So-mun was trying to summon the territory, but it was all in vain. Chung Sin directly stabbed So-mun's wrist with a piece of broken glass. So-mun had lost her last hope of fighting back. At the critical moment, police officer Kim suddenly appeared. She pulled out a gun and aimed at Chung Sin. However, ordinary people were nothing in front of the demon. The gun was directly taken away by Chung Sin, using his strength. Luckily, Motok stopped the demon in time, but the demon saw that so many people had gathered and immediately ran away. At this time, So-mun's situation was very critical. Mayoke was extremely worried. Hana used her ability to find a nearby park with a very strong territory. A few people immediately took So-mun there. Mayoke tried her best to treat him. Mayok sang nursery rhymes while treating him, hoping that So-mun would be safe and sound. After a while, Mayok's hair turned white. Blood was flowing from her nose, but she still persisted in curing So-mun. After that, everyone returned to the sisters' noodle shop. Too many strange events happened tonight. It made police officer Kim Kim, a little unable to accept it. Motak explained to her. He also told her that they were demon hunters. He wouldn't erase her memory. He needed her help. Mayoke was still very weak on the other side. Hana was worried about her health. This treatment would take a year off Mayoke's life. Mayoke firmly said that Somun was worth it. At this time, Somun's grandfather called. Hana answered the phone, making her grandfather think that Somun was with his girlfriend. Chung-sin was alone in the hotel, receiving treatment. The TV was talking about Mayor Shin wanting to run for president. He immediately recalled that Songpin was very angry when he saw the news that Shin Myung-hui was elected mayor. He and Chung-sin were the ones who did all the evil deeds. As a result, after Mayor Shin took office, they were banned from attending the inauguration ceremony. Songpin was so angry that he took out a recording. If this was revealed, Mayor Shin would definitely go to jail. At this time, Chung-sin looked at the recording in his hand and thought about something. After Mayoke's attentive care, Somun finally woke up. Seeing that he was fine, Mayoke was relieved. Then she earnestly advised Somun to never face the devil alone again. Somun also knew that he was too reckless. He looked at Mayoke's white hair and blamed himself. Somun hugged her and cried silently. If the devil had discovered the existence of the territory, they would not be easily tricked into it. This made Somun very worried. If he wanted to defeat Chung-sin, he must master the method of summoning the territory at will. He began to think back to the times he accidentally summoned the territory, closing his eyes to feel his emotions at that time. Grief, fear, anger. Suddenly the territory under his feet opened. At the same time, Wei Jen discovered that her hand had become transparent. Then a woman leading a black dog with a group of people wearing hats came in front of Wei Gen. Currently, Mayor Shin's reputation is very good. It is very favorable for the presidential election. Next, he only needs to let the ICT engineering project start, and he will officially announce his candidacy for the presidency. Director Choi received a call from Director No. Director No wanted Director Choi to conceal the unfavorable news about Mayor Shin and fully support the general election. In the evening, So-moon and Mo-tak waited near the reservoir for the enemy to appear. When the screen showed a truck approaching, they immediately got out of the car to block it. As a result, the driver got out of the car. Angry, he took out a lighter, seemingly wanting to burn everything. Under the interrogation of two people, the driver revealed his true purpose. He wanted to burn the garbage mountain to attract the attention of the police, exposing the mastermind behind the manipulation of the garbage mountain. The driver wanted to let everyone know the truth about the garbage mountain poisoning his family and killing the police. It turned out that the driver knew Somun's father. The reason was that the driver's brother complained about the garbage mountain everywhere, but no one cared. Only So-guan took it on and went to investigate. In the end, So-guan died in an accident during the investigation. Seeing this, the driver's brother did not dare to speak up anymore, afraid of leaving his daughter alone and orphaned. Unexpectedly, last year his daughter was diagnosed with lymphoma. The cause was drinking water contaminated by the garbage mountain. Now this sinful land is about to become an ecological park. The secret of the garbage mountain will be buried forever. This made the driver very upset. So-mun went to the sick girl's side, smiled and wished her a speedy recovery. He also promised to go see BTS perform with her. On the way back, police officer Kim called. She worriedly said that the blood of the suspect who murdered Kim Young-nim had been taken. It was now in the hands of Director Choi. So-moon and Mo-tak were very angry. They decided to let the whole world know about Mayor Shin's crimes. The next day was the groundbreaking ceremony for the ICT project. Mayor Shin would announce his candidacy for president. Everything was ready, but Mayor Shin didn't know that today would be a memorable day in his life. Everyone in the demon hunting team had secretly sneaked into the venue. A series of operations had completely taken control of the entire hall. At this moment, Mayor Shin was on stage. He enthusiastically answered various questions from the host. Next was a promotional video about the ICT project. Unexpectedly, everyone here was terrified. The big screen was showing a picture of a landfill. The subordinates were immediately scared and asked to turn it off. Suddenly, Mo-tak jumped onto the interview table wearing a gas mask. He solemnly introduced himself to everyone. Mayor Shin was the one who littered and destroyed the environment. Hana had also prepared sewage in advance to splash on Mayor Shin. The audience at the scene was surprised. Then the countergroup rushed in and sprayed fire extinguishers and sewage. Mayoke took advantage of the chaos to trip Mayor Shin and stuffed a rag into his mouth. This was also considered the consequence they had to accept. All this sewage was sewage from the landfill they created. The reporters outside the stadium all gathered at the scene. Mayor Shin's press conference today had completely turned into a joke. In the parking lot, Mo-tak stopped Director Choi and threatened him. Director Choi was so scared that he didn't dare to speak. On the Young World side, the woman sitting in the main position asked Wei Jen and the others, why did So-mun and the others use their abilities to deal with ordinary people? Wei Jen and the others didn't know how to explain. Inside her noodle shop, the four people were very happy to see the sewage incident affecting Mayor Shin's presidential campaign. rain. They even held a barbecue party to celebrate. Suddenly, everyone was called to the young world. The supervisor sitting in the main seat sternly said that if they violated the rules 5 times, they would lose their status as demon hunters. Among them, So-moon and Myo-cake were warned twice. Mo-tak and Ha-na were warned 4 times. Wee-jen suddenly said that she hoped to take away So-moon's identity as a demon hunter because he couldn't control his emotions well and let the demons know about the existence of the territory. They would not enter the territory again in the future, making the next capture more difficult. At the same time, Wee-jen said that So-moon only wanted revenge. He always wanted to kill people, no different from a demon. So-moon was completely agitated this time. He said that Chung-sin was an outlaw. His parents' souls were trapped in his body and had not been rescued yet. He begged Wee-jen to give him another chance. Unfortunately, So-moon's emotions became even more agitated. It further proved that he was not suitable to be a demon hunter. In the end, the supervisor decided to take away So-moon's identity as a demon hunter. Wee-jen and So-moon terminated the contract. So-moon returned to being a normal person. At the same time, the counter group also returned to the real world. Everyone woke up the unconscious So-moon. At this moment, his hair was no longer curly, but slowly straightened. So-moon slowly opened his eyes. When he was about to stand up, he quickly fell down. Recovering his normal body meant that his legs were also crippled again. So-moon's tears flowed out unconsciously. Hana also cried. The cruelest thing in the world was to give people hope and then destroy that hope. At this moment, So-moon wanted to die, but didn't dare to die. Wanting to live again, he didn't know what motivation he had to continue. At this moment, another order was given. That was to erase So-moon's memories. The other 3 members couldn't bear to do it. Only Chairman Jang Mul stood up. He knew that they had been together for so long, how close their feelings were. This time let him take on this evil role. So-moon kept begging. Before his parents' revenge was avenged, he wanted to keep his memories with everyone. Unfortunately, Chairman Jang Mul did not dare to disobey orders. After erasing his memories, Chairman Jang Mul took him home. After that, even though he did not want to, Chairman Jang Mul still had to erase the grandparents' memories. At the noodle shop, Ha-na kept recalling memories related to So-moon. At the same time, Myo-cake destroyed all the documents about Mayor Shin. She persuaded Mo-tak to give up the investigation. She was afraid that if she continued to interfere in human affairs, she would lose another comrade. In Mayor Shin's office, they were looking at photos of the counter group. Director No said that Mo-tak was secretly investigating the reservoir. Mayor Shin was completely enraged at this moment. He pointed at Mo-tak's photo and said that this person must die. Director No then showed everyone the video of the counter group's car accident. Everyone who saw it was shocked. Such a serious accident, and they were still alive. At this time, Chung-sin had already broken into the city government building. After knocking out the guard, he immediately entered Mayor Shin's office. He asked Mayor Shin to cancel his wanted notice. In return, he would deal with Mo-tak's group. Moreover, he obediently handed over the corrupt ledger of Mayor Shin's group. Facing such a powerful Chung-sin, Mayor Shin was not afraid at all. He proposed a win-win solution. Compared to revoking the wanted notice, directly announcing that he had been arrested was probably more appropriate. This could save his approval rating. The 2 sides looked at each other with tacit understanding and then laughed crazily. Mayor Shin then burned his ledger. The next day, So-moon woke up in his own bed. It was as if yesterday's events had never happened. He limped out of his bedroom to play with his grandmother. After breakfast, he went to school. At school, Hyukwoo's group saw So-moon coming to school on a sling and thought he was pretending. Then they knocked So-moon's sling away, stepped on his head, and pressed him to the ground. They didn't expect So-moon to not fight back. After the teacher arrived, Hyukwoo's group left. The 2 friends discovered So-moon's abnormality. They worriedly asked if his leg was okay. It had clearly healed before, so why was it like this now? So-moon looked at them in confusion. On this side, Myo-cake went to Young's world to find Suho. She hoped he could convince the other colleagues to accept So-moon again. Like a mother, Myo-cake felt sorry for So-moon, who was lonely and helpless. After speaking, Myo-cake held Suho's hand and touched his face. It turned out that Suho was Myo-cake's son. Even though she could see her son often, she still missed him. Wee-jen had not found a successor to So-moon. Suho immediately suggested giving So-moon another chance. Unexpectedly, Wee-jen firmly objected. She was preparing to meet another candidate, but the other party wanted to reunite with his deceased wife, share peace and happiness. As a result, Wee-jen's persuasion failed. Myo-cake and Mo-tak were still worried about So-moon, so they went to the school gate to check on his condition. Seeing that So-moon was fine, the 2 quietly left. In another development, this man killed his wife and planned to go to his wife's lover's place to kill another. The lover frantically begged for forgiveness, but the man still pressed closer and closer. As the man swung the knife, his lover was thrown onto a tree by some mysterious force and died on the spot. Immediately afterwards, police officer Kim began investigating. Because the case was too supernatural, she went to the noodle shop to explain the situation to the counter group. Myo-cake and 3 others others discovered that another level 3 demon had committed the crime. Hana discovered from the victim's image that there were 2 murderers. The woman was killed by a level 1 demon, and the lover was killed by a level 3 demon who used telekinesis. At this time, a news appeared on TV. In a deserted place in the city, the car that Chung Sin used was discovered. His charred body was also found in the car. When So-mun returned home, he immediately collapsed when he saw the news. He immediately rushed to the police station to confirm the truth, but Mo-tak angrily said that they were playing tricks. He and police officer Kim immediately drove to the police station, but at the scene of the interview, they saw So-mun. Mo-tak found that So-mun's memory did not seem to be erased. At this time, Director Choi and Mayor Shin went together. Director Choi said that the impact of the last Garbage Mountain incident had been minimized. The current hot search was the death of the serial killer Chung Sin. Mayor Shin held a press conference to save his reputation. In the autopsy room, police officer Kim said that all clues pointed to Chung Sin, but because DNA could not be extracted, the true identity of the corpse was still in doubt. So-mun recalled the last time he fought Chung Sin. He broke his wrist and ribs, but the x-rays showed that there were no fractures, so they determined that this corpse was not Chung Sin. Afterwards, Mo-tak asked why So-mun's memory didn't disappear. It turned out that Chairman Jong-mul hadn't erased So-mun's memory. So-mun told Mo-tak not to tell Myoke and Hana about this. So-mun was afraid of getting them involved. After So-mun left, Mo-tak asked police officer Kim to apply for an arrest warrant. First, Director No had to be put in jail. On this side, Director No leisurely left the interrogation room and was handcuffed by police officer Kim, who accused him of inciting murder. Mo-tak appeared as a witness. Police officer Kang on the other side also used the crime of wanting to kill Mo-tak's group to arrest Chang Kyu. Afterwards, police officer Kim interrogated Director No. She had evidence in her hands, including the video that Mo-tak had collected and the recording of Director No's phone call. Chung Sin escaped his body and got a new identity. He followed the guidance of the evil spirit in his body and found another of his kind who had not yet awakened. Chung Sin killed the people next to his kind without hesitation, then fed the souls of the dead to his kind. On the other side, the people loved Mayor Shin more and more. They shouted on the road that Mayor Shin had to pass through, that he was the future president, and in the opinion polls, Mayor Shin was at the top with the highest approval rating. So-mun was very angry when he saw Mayor Shin's presidential manifesto, and his son Hyuk-woo became even more arrogant. Hyuk-woo even humiliated the disabled in front of So-mun. Not only that, Hyuk-woo's group also blocked So-mun outside the school and beat him up to vent their anger. So-mun struggled to stand up, his eyes firmly warning Hyuk-woo that if he couldn't control his emotions, he and his family would be in danger. So-mun said that if he wanted to, he could kill 3 of them on the spot, but if he did so, there would be no different from Hyuk-woo's group. Before leaving, So-mun kindly advised Hyuk-woo they were all young and still had a chance to change. On the way home, So-mun saw Mayor Shin surrounded by voters. Unable to bear it for a moment, he rushed forward to prove that he would definitely take Mayor Shin down. Mayor Shin recalled that So-mun and Mo-tak were both his accomplices, but fearing that there were many supporters at the scene, Mayor Shin acted as if he didn't need to pay attention to So-mun's words. As he turned around, his expression became even more gloomy. Inside the noodle shop, Hana sensed 2 demons nearby. Moreover, they both detected the existence of the territory. She immediately realized that Chung Sin was summoning his other kinds. In the police car, Yang-hee also felt that call. She looked towards Chung Sin following behind. She knew that he would come to save her, so she laughed crazily. On this side, So-mun saved a man who was almost hit by a car, but fell into a trap set by the demons. They covered his head and caught him in the car. So-mun had lost his supernatural powers and had no strength to fight back. As a result, he was knocked unconscious. Not long after, the 3 people in the noodle shop received a video call from Chung Sin. He had kidnapped So-mun and beaten him brutally. Furthermore, they saw Yang-hee successfully escape from prison there. After Yang-hee brutally broke one of So-mun's fingers, Chung Sin threatened So-mun's life and forced Mo-tak and the others to go to the abandoned factory. Despite being tortured and brutally abused, So-mun still managed to shout loudly to tell them not to come. However, how could the 3 of them leave him behind? When they arrived at the scene, the 3 of them began to discuss countermeasures. This time, there were a total of 2 level 3 demons. These demons were difficult to deal with, so the 3 of them had to unite. Unfortunately, the more perfect the imagination, the more cruel the reality. Chung Sin also knew that the 3 of them working together would create an extraordinary power. Therefore, he had set up an ambush early, looking for an opportunity to drag Myoke into a room. Mo-tak and Hana tried to use force to break the iron door, but at this moment, Hana suddenly sensed that Chung Sin wanted to kill So-mun. Myoke disregarded her own safety and asked Mo-tak and Hana to go save So-mun. The 2 could only temporarily leave Myoke behind to go rescue So-mun. This meant that Myoke would have to face danger. She had miraculous healing powers. However, in terms of strength and fighting ability, she was was not as outstanding as Hana and Motak. Facing the two demons, poor Maok quickly fell into a disadvantageous position. In the end, she fell down helplessly. At the same time, Suho in the young world also fell into a coma. The other young colleagues sensed the danger the group was facing. They urgently contacted everyone but received no response. On the other side, Hana and Motak also went through a fierce battle. The two of them worked together well, reluctantly stopping Yang He and two other demons. However, when Chung Sin sacrificed a demon to absorb the opponent's soul, the advantage was completely tilted towards him. Then, he rushed in front of Hana. Motak rushed forward, but was easily beaten away by him. Hana tried to resist, but was violently dragged away by Yang He. So Moon felt very hurt and angry when he saw that his comrade's life was in danger, and he couldn't do anything. At this moment, black smoke flew out from the dead demon's body. So Moon remembered what Motak had said. Blue smoke was life, black smoke was demons, green smoke was souls trapped by demons. Then a green smoke flew out from the demon's body, rushed into Somun's body, and re-established his connection with the young world. At the same time, a girl also appeared in the young world. It was the green soul just now. Not long after, Maoke was also brought over. Somun saw her comrade lying on the ground in pain. At this moment, all the emotions of sadness, anger, and pain rose up in Somun's heart. He knew what would happen next. He kept begging Wei Zhen to help him. At this moment, Wei Zhen suddenly felt a sharp pain in his heart. It seemed that she and Somun still had a connection. The demons had also prepared gasoline to pour on the ground. A fire will burn this place to ashes. The whole team leaves, leaving the two demons behind because they are no longer of any use. On one side is the crazy laughter of the demons. On the other side is the heartbreaking cry of Somun. Inside the young world, suddenly invaded by a mysterious force. Wei Gen was sucked out of the young world by a powerful force. The fire grew bigger and bigger. Somun kept blaming himself. At the crucial moment, Wei Gen and Somun merged once again. Immediately, Somun broke free from the bondage. His entire body was filled with power. At this moment, accompanied by a loud explosion, the entire factory exploded. Mayor Shin and Chairman Cho were outside, waiting for this scene for a long time, unable to hide their excitement. Those who opposed him were finally eliminated. Chung Sin walked out of the factory, looking at Mayor Shin and Chairman Cho above with a very cold expression. Inside the factory, with the awakened power, Somun summoned the territory surrounding his teammates. He saved everyone from the fire. The supervisor in the young world saw what happened at the scene and was extremely surprised. So Moon hugged Maoke, kicked away the two abandoned demons here, and then went out the door. Very quickly, under the arrangement of Chairman Jong Mul, everyone was taken to the hospital. Motak and Hana were fine. Only Maoke was seriously injured, completely unconscious. Motak was momentarily angry. He went directly to the young world to question his colleagues. If they had not stripped Somun of his demon hunter status, all of this would not have happened. He and Giran argued fiercely. Suddenly, a stream of memories flooded Motak's mind. His memories seemed to be recovering. The next morning, the two demons defeated by Somun had become ordinary people. They wore their crime signs around their necks and were thrown in front of the police station. What awaiting them was the severe punishment of the law. On this side, Chairman Jong Mul came to visit everyone in the hospital. Maoke was the most seriously injured and was still in a coma. So Moon held her hand, recalling the past and praying for her to recover soon. On the other hand, Hana read her memories while fighting Chung Sin. This incident was done by Mayor Shin, who hired the demons. He was also the one who helped Chung Sin to assume a new identity. Motak, after being beaten by the demons, gradually recovered the lost memories. On this side, Mayor Shin had resolved his troubles and was happily drinking with Chairman Cho. He still didn't know that Somun's group wasn't dead. In his eyes, there was still someone who needed to be eliminated, and that was Police Officer Kim, who dared to oppose them. On the other side, Chung Sin found that Yang He had rummaged through his backpack. He was furious and forbade her to touch his things again and told her to prepare her passport to go abroad with him. But Yang He had a hot temper. She immediately protested. Yang He suddenly thought that Chung Sin had a recording that was unfavorable to Mayor Shin. She could use it to blackmail Mayor Shin. Unexpectedly, Chung Sin forcibly closed the door on her, making her very angry. On this side, Somun was walking alone on the street. Suddenly, he heard Wei Zhen calling him to go to the young world. The supervisor wanted to see him. After witnessing yesterday's incident, the supervisor decided to restore Somun's status as a demon hunter. Somun was extremely happy. He could finally fight alongside everyone again. He told Wei Zhen that after going through so many things, he finally understood that he shouldn't just do it for his parents. In the future, he will fight with all his might, enjoying the meaning of being a demon hunter. Wei Zhen also apologizes for not trusting Somun before. The scene is filled with joy, but at this moment, Giran feels that Suho is about to disappear, which means Maoke is in critical condition. Somun immediately runs to the hospital. Motak and Hana are in great pain. Outside the emergency room, they keep screaming Maok's name. At this time, Maoke is in a coma. A memory appears. 7 years ago, Maok had an an accident and fell into the water and was in a coma for a month. In her subconscious, she could not let go of her son Suho. At that time, Wee-Jen came to find her. Only, Mayok had lost all vitality. Her son Suho had passed away. She did not want to live any longer. Suddenly, a mother sound reached Mayok's ears. The two hugged each other tightly. That day, Suho became Mayok's young partner. The existence of the two people will go hand in hand. In reality, the doctors are still trying to perform cardiac resuscitation on Mayok. In her head, Mayok screamed in the water, wanting to hold Suho's hand. The great maternal love saved Mayok from death. Both she and Suho regained consciousness. Very quickly, Mayok was discharged from the hospital. Motok's memory was also half restored. He told everyone the good news. On the other side, police officer Kim received some photos, and the moment she saw them, her face turned pale. She asked police officer Kang not to investigate this matter further from now on. After that, police officer Kim entered the interrogation room, turned off the surveillance camera, and prepared to talk privately with Director No. This made Director Choi outside feel very uneasy. Police officer Kim took out the photos. On it, Mayor Shin, Director No, and Chairman Cho secretly met. Furthermore, wanted criminal Chung Sin also appeared. She warned Director No that she now had solid evidence. If he took all the responsibility alone, he would definitely be imprisoned for life. It was best to cooperate with her now. In the evening, Director Choi reported to Chairman Cho about this. Chairman Cho threatened that if he did not quickly deal with police officer Kim, Director Choi would lose his position as police chief. After speaking, Chairman Cho kicked Director Choi off the car. In the noodle shop, Hana was helping Motok recover his memory. Memories from the past gradually returned. That year, Motok was in charge of the missing Kim Young-nim case. One day, Somun's father suddenly came to tell him that the missing Kim Young-nim case was related to Mayor Shin. After that, Motok received a call from the whistleblower. That person said that he knew the truth about Kim Young-nim's disappearance. At that time, Director Choi was with Motok. He immediately informed the bad guys. Not long after, Motok was assassinated. Finally, Motok regained all his memories. Somun happily hugged him. Afterwards, Motok took the phone number of the whistleblower he saw in his memory and asked police officer Kim to check the other party's identity. At the same time, he also told her that he had regained his memories. He remembered the good times when they were in love, the happy moment when he proposed to police officer Kim. The two immediately made an appointment to meet. Everyone gathered around to watch Motok choose clothes. Chairman Jung Mall also gave Motok an unlimited black card. Everyone loudly said that he didn't need to go home tonight. Police officer Kim and Motok drove off with anticipation. When he arrived at the meeting place, Motok was extremely terrified to find that police officer Kim had been shot in the head, her face covered in blood, and she fell on the steering wheel. Motok, like a madman, hugged her and rushed into the hospital. Scenes from the past flashed through his mind. He frantically prayed to God to save his lover. However, he could only helplessly watch police officer Kim's soul disappear before his eyes. All hope was gone. Today was police officer Kim's funeral. Everyone in the noodle shop was very worried about Motok's condition. At this time, Motok appeared in black. Everyone advised him not to go to the funeral to avoid being exposed because Mayor Shin's group did not know that they were not dead. However, Motok still insisted on going. He had to send his lover off peacefully. When he got there, Motok hid to the side and quietly peeked. At this time, Director Choi brought his colleagues to visit. Two policemen whispered at the door. They said that police officer Kim had left this world by herself because the bullet that shot her was the bullet in her gun. Hearing this, Motok was about to rush out but was stopped by So-mun. The two watched from afar as police officer Kim's coffin was put into the car. After returning to the noodle shop, So-mun took a bottle of wine and poured it for Motok. Motok drank it all in one gulp. He hoped that all the suffering could disappear with this glass of wine. So-mun comforted Motok that as a demon hunter, he should know that life and death are not far apart. Police officer Kim only went to heaven. Motok stared at So-mun with a heartbroken expression. Now he could feel the pain of So-mun, a child who had lost her parents and was disabled in her legs. Motok did not know how So-mun had overcome it before. After the sadness, Motok began to cheer up. He read the last memory of police officer Kim and found out that the murderer was a police officer who had worked for at least 20 years because the watch the murderer was wearing was given to officers who had worked in the department at least 20 years. At the police station, police officer Kang was asked to hand over all the documents managed by police officer Kim. At this time, Motok called. The two arranged to meet in a secluded place. Police officer Kang said that the whistleblower's number was not registered. Police officer Kang also believed that police officer Kim had not left this world by herself. Motok asked police officer Kang to help him investigate how many people in the police station had worked for more than 20 years. Police officer Kang agreed, although scared. At the same time, he gave the documents that police officer Kim had investigated to Motok. It turned out that police officer Kim had investigated Mayor Shin for using illegal money to run for election. The initial estimate was 5 billion won. Now, if they used outside means to deal with him, it was likely that Mayor Shin would still use his connections to suppress them. Hana came up with a bold idea to use despicable means like Mayor Shin to deal with him. She suggested stealing the 5 billion won. Chairman Jang Mal felt it was feasible. After all, the origin of the money was unknown. They wouldn't dare to report it to the police, and the money was gone. They would naturally look for a new sponsor. At that time, Chairman Jiang Mall would appear as their savior, and the 5 billion would be returned to the people. And if the money suddenly disappeared, they would also suspect each other internally. The problem now was that if they used the power of a demon hunter, they would be punished for breaking the rules. Therefore, Motok went to the Young World to find Giran to negotiate. Everyone in the Young World learned that Mayor Shin was colluding with the devil, so they decided not to interfere with Motok's group's actions. After hearing this good news, everyone in the noodle shop temporarily closed the noodle shop. They wanted to focus all their efforts on dealing with Mayor Shin and his evil forces. Hana used her ability to eavesdrop on them, preparing 5 junk SIM cards. Director No and Chang Q were also preparing to be released from prison, and Mayo placed a tracking device under the car. Motok ran over based on the location. After erasing the memories of the 2 people here, he took all their phones. In this way, he could get the messages and calls from these phones. On the other side, Director No and Chang Q had been released. Director No used the junk SIM card to call Chairman Cho. Chairman Cho proudly said that Motok's group was burned to death. It was Chung Sin who did it. After hanging up, Chairman Cho took the opportunity to sit in the mayor's chair. Mayor Shin felt a little uncomfortable when he saw his arrogant appearance. Immediately after, Mayor Shin told him that his secretary had prepared a campaign. He did not want Chairman Cho and Director No to participate. Chairman Cho felt wary when he heard this. He secretly thought that Mayor Shin wanted to eliminate him. Then, Chairman Cho walked up to Mayor Shin and gave him a secret phone to contact him. Chairman Cho also said that he had established a support team that could take Mayor Shin anywhere. On this side, Chairman Jiang Mol also took action. He attended a dinner with Mayor Shin. He also said that he had been imprisoned for corruption. Very quickly, Chairman Jiang Mol won Mayor Shin's favor. The 2 of them talked happily. Chairman Jiang Mol expressed his strong support for Mayor Shin's election campaign. He also frankly expressed that he was a businessman and would only do things that benefited him. How much money Mayor Shin had prepared to run for president, Chairman Jiang Mol would also spend the same amount of money. The implication was that Chairman Jiang Mol had to see Mayor Shin's strength. If Mayor Shin prepared 5 billion, he would also invest 5 billion. After sending Chairman Jiang Mol away, Mayor Shin immediately called Chairman Cho. He told Chairman Cho to exchange all 5 billion into cash. Mayor Shin wanted to show Chairman Jiang Mol his strength, but he didn't know that his call had been overheard by the countergroup. But Chairman Cho saw that Mayor Shin had changed. He immediately had a bad feeling. He told Director No that Mayor Shin seemed to be plotting to eliminate them. In order to prevent Mayor Shin from achieving his goal, Chairman Cho needed his guarantee. So Chairman Cho ordered Director No to dig up something buried in the reservoir. On the other side, the countergroup, based on the content of the call, immediately made a battle plan. They secretly followed Director No's subordinates. They were collecting 5 billion in many places. Suddenly, they heard a call from Chang Q. He said that he had dug up a yellow suitcase in the reservoir. It seemed that this suitcase was very important to them, but the most important thing now was to steal the 5 billion. In the parking lot, So Moon found the right opportunity to break the tires. Motok pretended to be an insurance company employee and came to check. He used the excuse that there were too many people in the car and chased most of them out of the car. Then, he pretended to have cramps to attract their attention. At the same time, Mayoke erased the driver's memory in the car. Next, everyone started moving the suitcase of money. They also took away the memory card of the dash cam. Seeing that the opportunity had come, Motok changed the tire and left smoothly. On the other side, Director No was in the office. The memory of the yellow suitcase suddenly appeared in his mind. It turned out that inside the suitcase was Kim Young-nim's body. Previously, he had killed her. He thought that this matter was over. Now, Chairman Cho told him to dig out the suitcase and restrain Mayor Shin. Director No felt a little uneasy. In order to protect himself, he did not listen to Chairman Cho's orders. Director No told Chang Q to quickly bring the suitcase to the location on the message. And so Mun and the others also followed that address to a sauna. They saw Chang Q wanted to burn the suitcase, so they immediately took it. At the same time, they also erased their memories. After waking up, Chang Q found his hair on fire. He immediately thought that the suitcase had been thrown into the fire. On this side, Motok and the others opened the suitcase and saw Kim Young-nim's bones. This made everyone extremely scared. The most important thing now was how to use this evidence to bring down Mayor Shin. At this time, Hana came up with a plan. That was to give this evidence to Mayor Shin's political opponent. That way, Mayor Shin's crimes would not be buried. Motok immediately thought of the area under the jurisdiction of Police Officer O. The next day, Motok secretly handed over the body to Police Officer O. On the other hand, when Chung Sin returned home, he not only discovered that his accomplices had killed someone, he also knew that Yang He had taken his recorder away. At this time, Yang He looked at a woman's clothes in the bathroom. She immediately killed the one and robbed her clothes. Then she went to the woman's boyfriend and snatched the handbag and ran away. Very quickly, Chung Sin found her and easily subdued her. He ordered Yang He to return the recorder. Mayor Shin smiled and made an appointment to meet Chairman Jiang Mol. He had prepared 5 billion in cash, intending to let Chairman Jiang Mol see his strength and sincerity. Unexpectedly, when he opened the suitcase, he was stunned. There was no 5 billion. It was filled with mineral water. Chairman Cho and Director No, who were hiding to the side and eavesdropping, immediately ran over. While they were in chaos, Chairman Jiang Mol secretly took away the teacups they had drunk. Then Then he stood up and asked to leave first. After leaving, Chairman John Mul handed the teacup to his secretary Do Jun. Then he told him to bring it to the appraisal center. In the room, Mayor Shin blamed all these mistakes on Chairman Cho. In a fit of anger, he even poured mineral water on Chairman Cho's face. Chairman Cho could only silently endure it. When he returned, Director No seemed even more insane. He used all his strength to swing the baseball bat and continuously hit the subordinate in charge of collecting the money. Chairman Cho sat alone in the office, his face gloomy. It was clear that he was the one who lost 5 billion. How could Mayor Shin dare to pour water on his face? This time, their relationship could be considered completely over. The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. Chairman Choi went out and took the baseball bat, wanting to teach his subordinate a lesson. At this time, Chang Kyu ran over. He heard his subordinate say that he had absolutely no memory of what had happened. He immediately thought of the time he burned the yellow suitcase and had no memory left. Chang Kyu remembered that Motak's group had the ability to make people lose their memories. He immediately suspected that they were still alive. Inside the noodle shop, everyone was waiting for the results of the examination. At this time, Motak's phone rang. Based on the results of the examination, Director No's DNA was found on Kim Young-nim's shirt. The DNA on her fingernails matched Mayor Shin's. After hearing this, everyone was extremely excited. Now, Mayor Shin would definitely have to pay for his crimes. Soon after, the police came to find Mayor Shin with an arrest warrant. Because they suspected him of being the suspect in Kim Young-nim's murder, they asked him to cooperate with the investigation. On the other hand, Chang Kyu checked the surveillance camera and discovered that Motak's group had stolen the yellow suitcase. Director No immediately called Mayor Shin to inform him. Suddenly, the police arrived. Director No would also be investigated. The news that Mayor Shin was about to be arrested by the police quickly spread. The lower floor was surrounded by reporters. At this time, he saw the members of the counter group there. Mayor Shin borrowed the reporter's lens and loudly declared it was all a setup by his competitor. He would definitely come back. For a moment, So Moon couldn't help but rush forward. He said that it wasn't just about Kim Young-nim, but also his parents. He would make Mayor Shin pay for his crimes. Late at night, the evil group drove to the orphanage. Chung Sin told his accomplices to wait outside while he went into the dark hallway. Then he stood in front of a classroom. On the day he was adopted, Chung Sin had fantasized about having a family. As a result, he became a murderer that San Pin had nurtured since he was young. Not long after, Chung Sin appeared in the orphanage director's office. The dean was so scared that he grabbed the shotgun next to him. He was another person that Chung Sin called father. Unfortunately, this father was just like Sang Pin, not a good person. The wound on Chung Sin's head was caused by him when he was young, and Chung Sin's purpose in coming here was to kill him. He didn't care about the dean's plea for forgiveness. He used his power to control the shotgun and shot the dean to death. After that, he sucked the dean's soul and mutated. On this side, the counter group saw the news that the demons had killed people and escaped again. Mayoke realized the seriousness of the matter, but with their current abilities, they didn't know how to handle it. They had no choice but to go to the young world together to discuss. As a result, Wei Zhen announced that Chung Sin had evolved into the final level of a demon. Humans and demons merged, had the ability to heal themselves, and became immortal. After listening, Somun was very worried about his parents' souls. Wei Zhen regretfully told him that 1 month after the human and demon merge, all the souls imprisoned in the body will be dissipated. Now there is only one way to deal with Chung Sin, and that is the barrier. The 4 young associates took out 4 betula trees planted by the first young people. Then, the 4 of them began to summon the barrier. In the barrier, whether it is a demon hunter or a demon, they will become especially weak. Moreover, all power will disappear, and the power of the soul will not be able to be used, and there is no way to display any abilities. The demon hunter will lose the power of the soul, but gain the energy of the territory. Therefore, the key to victory is the territory. So one must learn to completely control the territory. At this time, there was news on TV about the arrest of Mayor Shin. Chairman Cho was very pleased when he saw this. He told Chan Kyu that he only defeated his opponent through wise choices. He asked Chan Kyu who he wanted to choose now, him, Mayor Shin, or Director No. Chan Kyu was extremely hesitant when he heard that. On this side, Mayor Shin was being interrogated, but he had remained silent. Only the lawyer kept answering and changing the subject of the police, affirming that Mayor Shin was politically framed by his opponent. The police felt that they could not continue the interrogation for the time being, so they sent him to the police station's break room first. Secretary Mi Jin was waiting in the break room. Suddenly, a reporter's phone rang. She conveniently pressed the reject button. Mayor Shin was very angry when he saw this and scolded the secretary for not answering the phone. He had to let the reporter know about the police officer O's son being suspected of cheating in admission. Now, he needed to counterattack, saying that this was just an evil political scheme. Secretary Mi Jin was shocked to see him like this. At night, Somun desperately practiced the method of summoning the territory. His physical strength was exhausted. He even had a nosebleed. Hana was very worried when she saw this. Moreover, she was also thinking about another difficult problem. If the barrier was opened at that time, the 4 magic sticks held by her, Mayoke, Motak and Somun, then who would be the one to summon Chung Sin? At this time, Chairman Jong Mul came over and held a stick and joked. He said that he would be one of the 4 people holding the sticks, and So Moon would be in charge of fighting the evil spirits. Motak was present at the scene where police officer Kim was murdered. A truck was parked nearby on the night of the incident. The dashcam in the car most likely recorded the scene of police officer Kim's murder. Motak had been waiting here for 5 days, waiting for the owner of the car to appear. Unexpectedly, the owner mistook him for being betrayed, hugged him sympathetically, cried, and comfortably gave him the video. Back at the noodle shop, Motak watched the video over and over again, hoping to find some clues. Unfortunately, it was too dark that night, and the murderer was wearing a hat, so he couldn't see his face clearly. The next morning, Motak made an appointment to meet with police officer Kang. He gave him the video he had collected. Motak asked him to send it to the NFF image analysis team to identify the murderer. Just as police officer Kang reached out to take the documents, Motak suddenly grabbed his hand. Motak asked if he could trust police officer Kang. Police officer Kang was so scared that he trembled, and he fearfully said that he wasn't on the bad guy's side. At this time, Director Choi was going crazy because Mayor Shin's case had been reported to Seoul, and the police station on the other side wouldn't let them help with the investigation. Suddenly, police officer Kang barged in. He informed that Motak had obtained video evidence of the cars at the parking lot where police officer Kim died. It was currently being sent to NFF for examination. Director Choi hurriedly told police officer Kang to go out after hearing this, then angrily questioned police officer Pio. Director Choi asked him if he had not deleted all the cameras. Director Choi then told him to quickly go to NFF to stop Motak. If there was any negligence, they would all die. Police officer Pio rushed out of the office and called police officer Kang to follow him, but the other police officers looked at him like an idiot. Without waiting for him to react, police officer Kang opened the recording of his conversation with Director Choi. It turned out that when police officer Kang broke into the office to report the situation, he had secretly installed a wiretap. Police officer Pio immediately stepped forward to take back the recording, but was stopped by everyone. At this time, Motak went over and punched him until he was knocked unconscious. Director Choi also discovered the wiretap in his office, but it was too late. Police officer Kang led people in. Director Choi was arrested for the murder of police officer Kim. Motak forced Director Choi into a corner. Motak questioned him on why he could do such a thing to police officer Kim. Motak had respected him so much. How could he become so despicable? Everyone hurriedly stopped the agitated Motak. Before leaving, police officer Kang gave police officer Kim's locker key to Motak. Opening the locker, he saw a photo of the two of them together. Their smiles were so sweet. On this side, So-moon was still practicing hard. Mayoke couldn't bear to see him like that, so she dragged him to eat noodles. At this time, Ju-yeon and Eung-min came looking for him. Recently, So-moon had completely lost contact, and they were so worried that they came here. The two of them were so angry that they went up and beat So-moon up. After that, the three of them happily walked along the street. Suddenly, they saw Hyuk-woo being bullied by thugs. Mayor Shin had become a murderer, so they no longer treated Hyuk-woo with any respect. So-moon immediately stepped forward to help, but Hyuk-woo didn't thank him at all and stood up and left. At the police station, Mayor Shin asked Secretary Mi-jin to help him get through this crisis, but she didn't respond and felt very awkward. After leaving the police station, Secretary Mi-jin was taken away by Chairman Cho to talk. After Chun-sin killed the orphanage dean, he immediately started trying to take care of the orphans. A boy accidentally kicked a ball at Chun-sin, and he happily smiled and comforted the boy. This made Yang Hee on the side laugh like crazy. How could a murderous demon love children so much? But she didn't know that the memories of the childhood with his friends at the orphanage were the only happy times in his life. Chung-sin warned Yang Hee that if she said anything more, he would make her mute. She was scared and immediately shut up. Another demon was quietly following a child, wanting to harm the boy. At this time, Hana, on her way home, sensed that the demon had entered her territory. She hurriedly ran back to the noodle shop to inform everyone. They immediately contacted So-moon. So-moon rarely went out with his friends. He was planning to go out to eat with his two friends. Suddenly, So-moon saw a boy about to be hit by a truck. In a critical situation, he opened his territory and carried the boy up, avoiding a disaster. The two friends were very surprised to see this. At this moment, So-moon finally understood the secret of summoning the territory. It was not sadness, not anger, but deep inside, there was someone he wanted to protect. Everyone in the noodle shop also saw the territory that So-moon opened. On this side, just as the demon wanted to kill the boy, Chung-sin came looking for him. He raised his hand and immediately dealt with this disobedient subordinate. Then, he ate the opponent's soul. The boy was scared and ran out. Chung-sin lost control and grabbed the boy. Just as he was about to act, he tried to overcome the demon inside him and let the boy go. After going through this, he knew that if he stayed, he would harm the children. So he wanted to take Yang Hee and leave. On this side, Chairman Cho went to see Mayor Shin. He showed Mayor Shin the video on Secretary Mi-jin's phone. It turned out that Secretary Mi-jin and Kim Young-nim were close friends. Secretary Mi-jin often sent the dog to Kim Young-nim's house so that she could always see the dog. Secretary Mi-jin secretly placed a camera at Kim Young-nim's house, accidentally capturing the face of the murderer, Mayor Shin. Director No was ordered to clean up the scene. Kim Young-nim was a volunteer in Mayor Shin's election team, but then became pregnant. Mayor Shin was worried that this would affect his career, so he killed her to avoid future trouble. After watching the video, his whole body trembled. At this time, the countergroup had arrived at the orphanage. Chung-sin watched watched the children go to sleep, planning to break up with Yang He, but she didn't want to. She wanted to go with him. On this side, the countergroup had opened a barrier, so Moon walked forward with the territory. Facing the weak demon, he easily defeated him with just one punch. At this moment, someone only needed to call out the evil spirit in Jungsin's body. His parents could go to heaven. Unexpectedly, the boy suddenly rushed out to stop him. The boy frantically begged Somun to let Jungsin go. Seeing this, Jungsin took the opportunity to take out a gun and shoot himself in the head. At this moment, Somun was completely desperate. Jungsin was dead, which meant that his parents' souls would also disappear. Meanwhile, the police found Mayor Shin lying in a pool of blood. He was taken to the emergency room and is currently in a coma. Inside the young world, Somun punched his chest hard. It was hard to believe that his parents had disappeared. The next day, Somun went to the noodle shop and told everyone that he would temporarily stop being a demon hunter. Because he felt that his parents' souls were still there, he wanted to find that demon to avenge his parents. Everyone also thought that a level 4 demon flying out of a human body would not disappear so easily. Instead, it will continue to do evil. Everyone expressed support for Somun's actions. They did not allow him to talk about separating from the group. In the hospital, Hyukwoo stood by his father's bedside and watched for a long time. He tried to strangle his father to death. Hyukwoo thought that if it weren't for his father, he wouldn't have been ridiculed and bullied by his classmates. At this moment, the nurse walked in. Hyukwoo stopped and hurriedly left. Then, Mayor Shin suddenly opened his eyes. The level 4 demon appeared in his body. It turned out that the black smoke that flew out from Jungsin's body that night did not completely dissipate. It flew across the city and flew into Mayor Shin's ambulance. At this moment, Jungsin sat on Mayor Shin and whispered that then they had to protect each other. After waking up, Mayor Shin made an appointment with Chairman Cho on the rooftop. He knew that Chairman Cho had always wanted his position. Mayor Shin could give Chairman Cho the position of mayor, but Chairman Cho had to listen to him. After speaking, Mayor Shin used his strength to force Chairman Cho to kneel down. Chairman Cho was surprised, not knowing why Mayor Shin had become like this. After returning, Chairman Cho arranged for Director No to take the blame for killing Kim Yong-nim. Mayor Shin was immediately released. At the same time, he also resigned as mayor. Motok vowed to capture Mayor Shin. Today was Suho's death anniversary, so Mayok, wearing black, waited anxiously in the noodle shop. When the door opened, Mayok's daughter-in-law walked in. Although Suho had passed away many years ago, Mayok and her daughter-in-law were still very close. Every year, they worship Suho together. At this time, the daughter-in-law took out a wedding invitation, announcing that she was getting married. Mayok was very happy and sincerely blessed her daughter-in-law. Then, she went to the young world to comfort her son, because the daughter-in-law was going to start another marriage. The wedding photo in Suho's hand disappeared. Although he was reluctant, he was also very happy for his wife. After that, he started teasing the relationship between his mother and Chairman Jang Mul. At this time, Somun was going around the corners of the city to open territory to search for traces of demons. On this side, Chang-kyu and his subordinates were betrayed by Chairman Cho. They were lured to Mayor Shin's house. Mayor Shin's purpose in calling them was very simple, which was to kill them and suck their souls to restore their strength. At this time, when Hyukwoo happened to come home and heard the movement in the room, Mayor Shin suddenly opened the door, startling him. Hyukwoo discovered his father's abnormality and quickly hid in his room. Mayor Shin also followed him to the door. He took control of his body from the demon, not allowing the demon to eat his son. The movement outside made Hyukwoo very scared. After escaping from the house, Hyukwoo was abused by thugs, so Moon rescued him again. Unexpectedly, when Somun came into contact with Hyukwoo, Somun learned that Mayor Shin had been possessed by a demon. He hurriedly went to Hyukwoo's mansion and then summoned the territory. Hana immediately sensed the existence of the demon. In the house, Mayor Shin also saw the territory and quickly ran away. At that moment, his strength had not yet recovered and he was no match for the demon hunter. On the way back to the noodle shop, Somun suddenly burst into tears. He finally had hope to save his parents. After returning, little Soo-eun went to the noodle shop to visit Somun. Soo-eun had been seriously ill due to pollution from the landfill. Recently, with the support of Chairman Jang Mul, her health had also improved a bit. Waiting for the little girl's test report to come out, the Guardian would hold a press conference exposing the wrongdoings of the Taesin group. Chairman Jang Mul was very happy. He said that they could hold the press conference at his hotel. Chairman Cho got the news and told Mayor Shin. At that time, Soo-eun's body was the only living proof. If they did not destroy the little girl, Mayor Shin could never return to his original position. But now that Director No and Chang-kyu were not there was no one trustworthy to do this. Hearing this, Mayor Shin revealed a terrifying smile. On this side, Yang He was hiding in the small hotel, extremely uneasy. If this continued, sooner or later, she would be found and destroyed by the demon hunters. She turned on the TV very loudly, making the neighbor next door unhappy. The neighbor knocked on the door and told her to turn down the TV. Yang He was angry and wanted to vent her anger on the neighbor. Suddenly, Chung-sin's voice came to her ear. She laughed crazily. Knowing that Chung-sin was not dead made her very excited. Hyuk-woo took advantage of his father's absence to sneak into the study. He accidentally discovered blood on the ground. After that, So-mun went to find Hyuk-woo. So-mun asked Hyuk-woo about Mayor Shin's other residents. After discovering that So-mun already knew about his father's abnormality, Hyuk-woo cooperated very well and told him. At this time, Yang He sneaked into Soo-eun's house, kidnapped her, put her in the car and took her away. But on the way, she accidentally entered the territory and Hana sensed that. Everyone immediately realized that Suun was in danger. The whole team immediately set off to save the person. On this side, Yang He accelerated the car and quickly found Chairman Cho. When the car was filled with gasoline and set on fire, the countergroup arrived in time. Motok single-handedly defeated all the thugs. He even beat Chairman Cho until his nose bled. Meanwhile, Hana restrained Yang He so that someone could take the opportunity to save Su Yun. Yang He schemed to escape. Hana chased after her, but the difference in strength was huge. In the end, Yang He escaped. The next day, Chairman Cho was finally punished appropriately. At the police station gate, he was pelted with flour by the people. Reporters surrounded him and took pictures. Yang He saw that the current situation was serious. If the demon hunting team set up a barrier again, it would be very difficult to deal with. Yang He said that the only way was for Mayor Shin to run away with her. But Mayor Shin was unusually calm. He said that the time was almost here, just wait a little longer. On this side, everyone returned to the noodle shop. Hana, who had disappeared all night, finally appeared. It turned out that although she didn't catch Yang He, she had discovered Mayor Shin's residence by following Yang He. Several people analyzed that the reason he had been avoiding them was probably because his body had not yet recovered. They had to deal with him as soon as possible. So that night, everyone once again took their magic wands and went to Mayor Shin's residence. Seeing Yang He drive out, everyone set up a barrier outside the house. So Mun went to find Mayor Shin alone. He acted as if he was sure of victory. It turned out that Yang He had only pretended to leave and set up an ambush nearby. Last night, Hana was discovered by Mayor Shin while following him. He covered Yang He's mouth and used his consciousness to talk to her. They deliberately deceived Hana to lure everyone into setting up a barrier. After that, Yang He only needed to kill one of them to break the barrier. At this time, Yang He was approaching Hana, breaking the magic stick in Hana's hand. The barrier immediately disappeared. At the same time, So Mun was also sent flying by Mayor Shin. He helplessly crawled on the ground. He proudly mocked So Mun. So Mun refused to give in, and with a strong force, he immediately stood up. The stones under his feet flew into the air. Mayor Shin's expression immediately changed. However, So Mun did not completely master this ability. He could only use force to attack Mayor Shin. Very quickly, Motok came to help, but the two of them working together were still no match for Mayor Shin. At this time, Mayoke also ran over. Mayor Shin immediately knocked So Mun and Mayoke away and fled the scene. On the other side, Yang He and Hana were still fighting. After a fierce fight, Hana successfully suppressed Yang He, accompanied by a white light on her chest. The demon was taken away by the young world. Afterwards, everyone went to the young world. Now, the magic stick had broken and there was no way to set up a barrier. When So Mun showed her fighting spirit in this battle, everyone was very confident. They believed that they could fight the demon without a barrier. At this time, Wei Zhen told everyone that the soul in Mayor Shin's body would disappear in 5 days. They only had 5 days to save So Mun's parents. On the way back, Motok comforted So Mun. Motok told him not to put too much pressure on himself. Go to the basement tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for training. The next morning, Yang He was in the detention center complaining that she was wronged. She had no memory of what she had done. She kept screaming, making the girl next to her unhappy and slapping her until her nose bled. At this time, Mayor Shin was on his way home. He felt that So Mun was also getting stronger. He had to quickly deal with him. Then he saw a citizen standing in front of his house. Mayor Shin felt very happy. He enthusiastically invited the citizen into his house. Meanwhile, Hyuk Woo was at home looking for a part-time job online. His scary father made him afraid to stay at home. At this time, Hyuk Woo accidentally watched the camera, witnessed a scary murder. Very quickly, Mayor Shin discovered the camera. He gave a scary smile, which made Hyuk Woo very scared. On this side, So Mun took advantage of the time to practice. Hana brought a medicine box to visit him, carefully helping him apply ointment to his wound. She said that yesterday, when she was attacked by Yang He, she saw her family dead. Hana felt the power of her family, so she was able to successfully defeat Yang He. At the same time, she promised So Mun that she would definitely help him see his parents again. Motok saw this situation and immediately teased the two, causing Hana to shyly run away. Because Mayoke's wound had not healed yet, and she was injured in the battle with Mayor Shin yesterday, Mayoke was very weak now, but she still stubbornly said that she was fine, and there was nothing anyone could do. Early the next morning, So Mun was stopped by Ju Yeon and Eung Min. The two questioned him if he had anything else to hide from them. They wondered why he could jump so high. Could it be that he had become a superhero? The two even wanted to be So Mun's assistants. So Mun was amused by his best friend. At that moment, he suddenly sensed a level 2 demon entering his territory. So Mun quickly informed his teammates. After that, he immediately went to the scene of the incident. The man followed the woman to a secluded place. Then, the man went to the woman and revealed her identity as a devil. Immediately after, the woman revealed her true nature and resolutely kicked the man to the ground. Fortunately, someone ran over in time and saved the man from being beaten. The man's name was Jung-gu, the successor of Chairman Jang Mul. Young colleague Dong Paul had introduced Jung-gu and Chairman Jang Mul to each other. At that time, Jung-gu was a free-spirited person. He even asked Chairman Jang Mul to sponsor his music album, which made Chairman Jang Mul very angry and never wanted to see him again. Jung-gu and Mayoke had similar abilities. The purpose of this trip was to treat Mayoke. It was just that Mayoke seemed to be seriously injured. Jung-gu was sweating profusely, and after a lot of nosebleeds, nosebleeds, he reluctantly finished the treatment. Afterwards, Mayok brought hot noodles. She thanked Junggu for coming from afar to treat her. Junggu reminded Mayok that he had followed her wishes and would help her hide her health condition for the time being. He also told Mayok that it was best to rest and not go into combat anymore. Mayok was a little awkward and changed the subject. Of course, she knew about her situation, but for the sake of her comrades, she couldn't give up. The next morning, someone discovered Hyuk-woo unconscious in front of his house. He quickly took Hyuk-woo to the noodle shop. At the same time, Junggu replaced Mayok as a member of the demon hunting team. Someone felt very uneasy after witnessing Junggu being beaten by a demon. Junggu argued that he was tired because he had just flown back and also because of the time difference. Motak accidentally exposed that Singapore and Korea were 1 hour apart. The four of them drove to Mayor Shin's house. After entering, they found Mayor Shin had passed out in his office. At this time, Hana suddenly sensed that there was a demon in the noodle shop. It turned out that everyone had been trapped. The demon had now taken over Hyuk-woo's body. Hana called Mayok but received no response. Everyone was extremely worried. Motek thought that the demon had changed hosts but had not killed Mayor Shin, so it would most likely return to his body. Therefore, he and Junggu would stay behind to guard, while So-moon and Hana ran back to the noodle shop. At this moment, at the noodle shop, Mayok enthusiastically cooked noodles for Hyuk-woo. She lamented that Hyuk-woo was truly pitiful for having such a father. Who would have thought that his laughter and eyes would scare her? Hyuk-woo crushed Mayok's earphones in his hand, along with a flashback of the truth being revealed. It turned out that Hyuk-woo saw his father killing someone that day and was beaten by his father. The devil suggested killing Hyuk-woo, but Mayor Shin wanted to use Hyuk-woo to kill everyone in the demon hunting group. Mayok saw that the situation was not good and wanted to run away, but was blocked by Hyuk-woo. Mayok quickly fell into a weak position and was knocked down by his overwhelming strength. Just as Hyuk-woo wanted to kill Mayok, Somun broke the door and rushed in. Somun used a series of punches to knock Hyuk-woo down. The devil also escaped from his mouth. Very quickly, Somun told Motak this news. The devil had returned to Mayor Shin's body, as Motak predicted. Although Motak and Junggu had been on guard, the devil was too powerful. They could only fight Mayor Shin in the remaining territory. Seeing that the territory was about to disappear, Motak led Junggu to quickly escape. Unfortunately, it was too late. Junggu was stabbed in the back of the neck by Mayor Shin's controlled knife. At the same time, in the young world, Dongpal's body began to fade. When Somun and Hana arrived, they saw the blue soul disperse from Junggu's body. He flew into the air to find a new host to survive. Suddenly, an inexplicable force attracted Dongpal into Somun's body. A strange blue light flashed in Somun's eyes. The force also increased rapidly, and Dongpal also revived. At this time, Weijin suddenly said in surprise that it turned out she wasn't the only one. Before, she didn't know why she was sucked into Somun's body. At this moment, she finally understood that Somun was the connection between the young world and the mortal world. In the noodle shop, Motak looked at Junggu's photo and was heartbroken. Mayok was also in her room, grieving over his death. Chairman John Mall was on the side, taking care of her and comforting her. Somun took Hyuk-woo back to his room. Somun read his memories and found out that Hyuk-woo was not happy at home either. Mayor Shin treated him very cruelly. Hyuk-woo did not receive love from his family, which eventually led to his extreme personality at school. Somun could only sigh. The next morning, Hyuk-woo woke up from Somun's bed in a daze. He was also invited to have breakfast with Somun's family. Hyuk-woo looked at the smiles on Somun's grandparents' faces and felt a feeling he had never had before. Then, when Hyuk-woo was about to leave, Somun called him back. At this time, Eung-min came by bike. At Somun's request, Eung-min awkwardly told Hyuk-woo that his family opened a homestay. Eung-min told Hyuk-woo that he could come and live there. Hyuk-woo felt the kindness of the two people, bowing his head speechless. Then, Somun walked to an old building that was about to be demolished, as if he was thinking about something. Suddenly, a memory appeared. Last night when he was going home with Hyuk-woo, the taxi driver was suddenly possessed by a demon, transforming into Chun-sin. He made an appointment with Somun to settle all the grudges. The address was where Somun stopped now. After that, Somun told everyone in the demon hunting team all of this. If it was the old Somun, he would definitely impulsively fight alone. Everyone was satisfied with his change. They were of one mind. They must resolve everything with Mayor Shin. Everyone knew that what was going to happen next would be extremely dangerous, so they took a souvenir photo together. After that, Chairman John Mall stayed. The remaining 4 people were determined to win. They confidently went into battle to face Mayor Shin. Somun raised his hand to summon the territory that covered the battle area. Mayok was the first to be sent flying. The remaining 3 people were also pushed away by Mayor Shin's strength. After that, Somun's attack was easily neutralized by him. He even had his legs broken brutally. Next, Mayor Shin continuously punched Somun in the head. Motak and Hana continued to attack. However, the difference in strength was too great. The 2 of them were quickly strangled by him. At this moment, Somun suddenly remembered what Motak had said. At the most crucial moment, they might not be by his side. So Moon absolutely could not fall. He had to stand up and finish off the demon himself. Thinking of his parents and worrying about his teammates, Somun stood up and limped towards Mayor Shin. He suddenly exploded with terrifying power. The rocks floated beside Somun. Mayor Shin was frightened by this scene. This power was many times stronger than his. He tried to resist but in vain. He was hit by the the rocks and couldn't react in time. When So-mun was about to summon the demon to the young world, Mayor Shin laughed and said that if he did that, he would never see his grandparents again. It turned out that he had kidnapped his grandparents and put them in a car powered by his power. So-mun noticed the car behind. The scariest thing was that a truck appeared on the slope and was about to crash into them. Mayor Shin let So-mun choose. Would he save his dead parents or his grandparents? At the crucial moment, Hana and Mo-tak stood up. One tried to push the car, the other blocked the truck. Chairman Jong-mul also came to help, but all three of them could not neutralize Mayor Shin's power. In a moment of impasse, Mayor Shin continued to charm So-mun to save his grandparents. Unfortunately, So-mun was no longer the child he once was. He completely trusted his teammates. Then he used all his strength and began to summon the evil spirit on Mayor Shin. At this time, the evil spirit used a trick to transform into So-mun's mother's appearance. Just as So-mun was about to fall for the trick, Mayo-K shouted loudly to wake him up. Accompanied by So-mun's scream, a white light lit up in his palm. The evil spirit was successfully summoned to the young world. The power disappeared, the car could not move. The truck driver also woke up. Hana and everyone else could finally breathe a sigh of relief, falling exhausted on the ground. In the young world, So-mun was awakened by Wee Jen. She happily told him that everything was over, his parents and grandparents were safe. So-mun finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, the evil spirit walked towards the two people. Because it and Chung-sin had completely merged, the devil appeared in Chung-sin's appearance. Wee Gen opened the gates of hell. The super strong suction pulled him into endless darkness. Awaiting him was the terrifying fate of being destroyed by other devils. At this time, the souls murdered by the devil appeared in the young world, including Chong-kyu and his subordinates. They thought this was heaven and quickly knelt down and begged for forgiveness. So-mun also met his parents. They turned to look at him. At this moment, So-mun was extremely happy. He had been waiting for this day for 7 years. However, his parents did not recognize So-mun. In their impression, So-mun was still just an 11-year-old child. At this time, Wei Jen appeared and told So-mun's parents that they were dead. The two of them were momentarily shocked after hearing this. Their memories with So-mun seemed like yesterday. A family of 3 even made an appointment to travel together. The two of them felt a great sense of loss and self-blame because they couldn't grow up with So-mun. They didn't recognize their son, who was quietly shedding tears. Just as they were about to leave, So-mun's mother suddenly recognized her son. At this moment, a family of 3 reunited, both sad and happy. So-mun once blamed himself for his parents' accident. Today, when the family reunited, he could finally feel relieved. He told his parents that he was growing up very well. Everyone said he was handsome like his father and gentle like his mother. So-mun comforted his parents that when they went to heaven, they shouldn't feel guilty towards him, just live happily. At the same time, Mayo-K healed So-mun's leg wound and took So-mun home with Hana. Then, returning to the noodle shop, Hana, Mo-tak and Mayo put their hands on their chests with excitement. In the young world, there was also someone they wanted to meet. But when they opened their eyes, they found themselves still in the noodle shop. Just as the 3 of them were surprised, the door opened. Their old comrade, Chol-jung, appeared. It turned out that Chol-jung had specially requested the young world to come to the noodle shop to visit everyone. He was also very nostalgic about the days of fighting with everyone. It had been a long time since they had seen each other, and they had a lot to talk about. After saying goodbye to Chol-jung, the next thing to do was to deal with Mayor Shin. Mo-tak took the evidence of his crime that he had collected and handed it over to police officer Kaing. After that, he went to find Secretary Mi-jin. She used to be Kim Yong-nim's best friend. 7 years ago, she was the one who wanted to report Kim Yong-nim's case to Mo-tak. But after Mo-tak was killed, Secretary Mi-jin did not dare to mention it again. Now Mayor Shin's other crimes have been proven. Only Secretary Mi-jin's testimony is needed to convict Mayor Shin of killing Kim Yong-nim. In the end, Secretary Mi-jin was persuaded by Mo-tak to testify to the police, providing the video of Kim Yong-nim being murdered by Mayor Shin. On this side, the police talked to Director No, telling him that Chun-kyu was dead and his body was found at Mayor Shin's house. And the last phone call before his death was from Chairman Cho. The angry director wanted to kill Chairman Cho. In the hospital, Mayor Shin woke up and saw the arrest warrant in Police Officer Kang's hand. Police Officer Kang handcuffed him. Mayor Shin was finally brought to justice. The news of his murder was also broadcast on TV. In addition, there was an anonymous recording of the accusation. Everyone in the noodle shop recognized Mo-tak's voice. He himself felt very wonderful. Chairman Jong-mul also anonymously donated 10 billion won to an environmental organization. That night, the grandparents also watched the news. They learned the real cause of So-mun's parents' death and cried. So-mun looked at his grandparents sadly and immediately made a decision. The next morning, he went to find Hana. He hoped that she would go see his parents with him. Mo-tak heard this and thought he wanted to introduce his girlfriend to his parents. This made Hana and So-mun very embarrassed. So-mun's parents were very pleased. They even said that Hana was exactly the type of guy they liked. Hana could only laugh and pretend to be So-mun's girlfriend. Then, she got to the main topic. She asked the two of them if they had anything to say to their grandparents. So-mun's parents looked at each other, their moods a little complicated. Then, So-mun summoned the territory, letting Hana take advantage of the time when her grandparents were sleeping to lead them to the young world. After many years of not seeing each other, the 4 happily reminisced about the past. The 2 grandparents finally no longer felt guilty. So-mun felt relieved when she she saw this. Next, it was Mayoke and Chairman John Mull's turn. Tonight, Chairman John Mull drove his car excitedly to find Mayoke. Tonight, he wanted the two of them to go for a walk together. Mayoke was a little embarrassed, so she went back to change her clothes to prepare for their date. Motok also said that she didn't need to go back home tonight, making Mayok blush. Tonight was very beautiful. Chairman Jang Mull felt especially sweet in his heart. Mayok sat in the car and fell asleep. Chairman Jang Mull looked heartbroken. She must have been really exhausted during this time. On this side, Hana brought out a dusty chest that had been there for a long time. Inside was her younger sister's favorite teddy bear. In addition, there was a family photo. Hana could not control her emotions and cried. She placed her family photo next to the group photo of her teammates. At this moment, she was able to overcome her psychological trauma and face her inner feelings. The next day, So-man is glad that he meets his best friends. The three of them officially became seniors in high school. So-man planned to be an art student. The homework in class was not too heavy. At this time, a classmate suddenly told So-man that Hyuk-woo seemed to want to do something bad again. As a result, when he rushed to the scene, he discovered that Hyuk-woo had called the people he had bullied to apologize. Then, he walked up to So-man and his two friends. Hyuk-woo said that he intended to drop out of school. Hyuk-woo also thanked Eun-min for his help before. At the same time, he sincerely apologized to them. The three of them watched Hyuk-woo's back as he left, feeling very strange. The resentment they had for so long had also disappeared. Today was Mayor Shin's trial. The counter group also attended. The prosecutor played a recording of Mayor Shin inciting others to kill So-man's parents. He himself admitted his crimes. After Mayor Shin was taken out, Motok wished him a long life. Because he had been sentenced to life in prison, he had to live long to pay for his sins. So-man said that he would never forgive him. A month later, the counter group was called to the young world. There was a big matter that needed them to do recently. Many evil spirits were currently hiding in many places across the country, so they needed to start patrolling the whole country. The cause was that So-man could summon territories at will. The greater the power, the greater the responsibility. So-man reluctantly said that they should consider it as a backpacking trip in Korea. However, the remaining three people felt that this mission was very tiring. They chased after So-man and beat him to vent their anger. After that, the four of them set off. The days of wandering made them very resentful, and they often received many anonymous reports across the country. When the police arrived, the criminal had already passed out there. Just take him away, and it was done. Although the counter team was very tired, they felt that it was all worth it. Today, after finishing their work, the team gathered to eat barbecue. Suddenly, several cars drove slowly over. The person who came was Chairman John Mull. It turned out that Motok had been complaining all day about the team's uniforms being too ugly, so he asked Chairman John Mull to make them new ones. As a result, Chairman John Mull specially found a team of professional designers to design uniforms for them. Everyone was extremely excited. Not long after, 4 young men possessed by demons were running away. 4 demon hunters in black suits chased after them. They subdued the demons with overwhelming power, along with the moments of the past being recreated. This is the entire content of the movie. Thank you for watching. Goodbye, and see you in the next videos. Bye.